Rose City, time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Happy Football Friday, everybody. Super Wild Card Weekend.
What is happening?
Just waiting for the big Bama news to drop at 9:02.
Have we ever been more prophetic in our career of this is going to happen in the next 10 minutes? Wait for it, right as we sign off the air. There you go. I was legitimately walking to the bathroom on my way to go take a leak after the show when I saw the news. Show ended, walked out of the studio. The bathroom is about, 50 feet away, give or take? And by the time I walked to the bathroom, the news had already come out.
Yeah, we have. We've done that 4 or 5 times since we've been in the morning slot. We've told you something's probably going to happen at 9 o'clock today.
Have fun.
And then 9:05, 9:04, 9:10, 9:01. And we just have to sit here with our thumbs in our butts because we can't do anything about it.
It is not fun when you're just watching the world react to news and all you could do is fire off a tweet. We wanted to have takes. I had takes yesterday. I wanted to give my takes.
But we know we have to hear the national opinion on Bill Belichick. Let me guess. Great coach. Leader of men.
I've heard he's a good coach. I've heard Bill Belichick.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, good coach.
I have to tune in at 9 a.m. to hear that.
Although, do we give him or Tom Brady the credit? You got to pick one or the other. They can't both get credit. One has to get the credit. And I don't know. Brady won in Tampa. I don't know. Belichick can get the credit. I don't know anymore.
I had to get out of here yesterday. I could not hang for very long because the last time we were signing off and something happened, it was Neil Olshey getting fired.
Yes.
And we got right back on the airwaves.
We did.
I could make a good case that yesterday's Lanning news was pretty close, if not above, for many people in that kind of category.
Yes.
And Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick.
Who's, by the way, not even retiring. He's going to coach again. He's just moving on from Tampa Bay. Or, excuse me, from New England.
You're taking Tampa Bay today, aren't you?
I might take Tampa Bay today.
I don't think that comes out unless you're thinking about gambling.
Unless I'm looking at that 3.5 line and I'm kind of sniffing around it right now. Saban's done coaching. He's not going to coach anymore. Massive story. End of an era.
Yes.
Not going to see him on the sideline again.
Yes.
Pete Carroll wants to coach again.
Yes.
Will somebody hire him? I don't know. Belichick wants to coach again. Somebody will hire Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And we will see him on the sidelines again. He is not dead.
Yeah.
And he is not retiring. He's just parting ways with the New England Patriots.
Like, I say this not having any expertise in newspaper. If I ran the Oregonian, I would actually put Lanning in some headline way of like Wolf of Wall Street, turning him down. I'm staying. Like, give me the photo. Give me the great headline. That's the goal today. If I was running the newspaper,
I'm not leaving.
Yeah, whatever key 3 words you want to take from his video he tweeted out. Use it and then put a photo of him.
I tend to agree with you. That was with all the smoke around it and the feeling a little over 24 hours ago that this, oh my God, like this could happen. And then we're reading the live odds on air yesterday morning. And it's like when it got to minus 500, there's a little pucker factor, even for me who didn't think he was going anywhere, of like, wait a minute, minus 500?
Ken Barkley made us feel better about that with that website,
better.
Right?
The second we did that interview, I thought, okay, we're fine. He's not going anywhere. These odds don't mean anything. Somebody's just placing $25 to $50 bets on Dan Lanning going to Alabama. But when you went from that to then the realization of not only is he not leaving, but he turned it into a recruiting pitch and then landed a recruit last night, it ended up being a hell of a day. And I'm with you. Put it on the front page of the newspaper, man.
If you're worried about your coach leaving, come play for us.
We don't do anything for clicks, though. Okay, we do things in substance.
Yeah.
This was a substance video.
Absolutely,
it was rooted in substance, and I think he talked with his helmet in that video.
You guys definitely don't have one of the greatest marketing companies to ever exist running the athletic department. No,
we don't do billboards. We don't do anything to seek attention. We just focus on playing football on the grass.
I tweeted this to you last night. I genuinely meant it. I was happy for you. I know not every Duck fan's gonna believe that when I say it. But I didn't want my co-host, who's about 2 weeks or less away from having a child, to be a broken human being with that child coming into the world. And I think Lanning leaving would have broke you.
Yeah, they say that you got to be worried about the post-baby depression for moms.
Postpartum, yeah.
Postpartum, it's a very serious deal. You can't double whammy that. You can't have mom be depressed and dad be depressed. Then you're just a depressed household.
Dad's a little selfish being depressed in that moment.
Well,
but yes, to your point.
Priorities here, right? I mean, top 5 recruiting class.
Not carrying the baby in your womb anymore. Same thing.
Right? I mean, Washington could have won a national championship. I can't recover from that. This could have been a really bad week for me. I could have seen Washington win a national championship and my head coach leave in the same week.
Yeah.
And now they might lose a national championship and see their head coach leave in the same week. It's funny how sometimes things are on different shoes. I'm not going to make fun of them today, but it was...
Oh, you will if it breaks. You will if it breaks.
It would have been demoralizing to say the least to go through this again. 2 years, like at least Cristobal gave us 4. We got 4 years of Mario.
Yeah.
This would have been 2 years and gone.
Yeah.
With all the optimism and all the recruiting and everything that's seemingly going in the right direction. You're going into a tougher conference next year and you got to go find a new head coach. It would have been an absolute back blow.
It is easier for me to say this given we have the information now, but this is kind of why I just didn't buy it. And it's not even to say that he wasn't a legitimate candidate or, whatever.
We'll never know. Yeah.
It was just, it's 2 years. He's been a head coach for 2 years.
Right.
I'm not saying this is a shot. Do we have anybody that reported that he was the lead candidate or a candidate? Because the one thing I tried to parse out yesterday is, have they narrowed this? Like Thamel went on and said they have a list. I'm like, yeah, but it really smells like they know who they want. And I don't know if that was Dan Lanning first and then he pivots out, or if has it always been Norvell? Is it always been DeBoer? Tommy Reese internally? I don't know the reporting of like what is accurate of who they were talking to or how their list was.
We'll never have any clue. We never will know. The only reporting that we had on Lanning was media members saying he's going to be their top target. That was it. But we don't know if an interview happened, if a phone call happened, somebody called Jimmy Sexton. We'll never know. Here's where it's fascinating on his part, though. And he was brilliant with the way he handled it.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not.
He turned it in.
He turned it into, I turned down Alabama.
Yes, he did. Whether that's true or not.
Whether it matters or not. That's what he turned it into. And now he can go into a recruit's homes and say, Alabama wanted to hire me. And I turned them down because that's the public perception that is out there.
Yeah.
And so he turned it into a major win, whether they actually interviewed him or called him or not. We'll never know if they did. I tend to agree with you that they've had their guy identified, but my follow-up to that would be, I thought a hire was going to be made yesterday. Like there was a lot of smoke with this thing that it seemed like it was going to happen. There was more flight tracking taking place in the afternoon. Like I was kind of sitting around waiting on my phone last night. When's the bomb going to drop? It's coming at some point, and it still hasn't come yet, which I find, I don't know if it's because they're just ironing out details in the contract, if there's few things that we haven't figured out yet, but I felt like if they had their guy, he would have been hired by now.
Also, it might break in the middle of our show today, so that's an important note.
9:03. It'll be 9:03.
Let me just chime in on that one. That was really fun at 9 a.m. when the news was breaking, and Sprague literally is whispering in my ear while the open to the update is playing. Hey, 24/7's Matt Zenith says, and it's like, hell yeah,
well, Dirt had just gone for a piss, and I'm like, oh my God, of course it happens right now.
It's happening.
Schultz.
Well, and we had way more energy about it than Colin freaking Coward talking about Bill Belichick. By 11:30 yesterday, he was like, well, these coaches in the NFL, they're moving on. This is a historic day. It's like, do you want to be at work today? $5 million a year, man?
I was very fired up yesterday.
I
was very excited.
Yes, you were excited.
I almost poked you in the elbow because I walked over behind you when the Lanning video came up on Twitter. I got a little excited.
Yeah, because I showed you that you had gone for the piss, so everything came out right when you went it.
What am I missing? And I was standing behind you, and I thought I better back up so I don't poke you in the back.
Okay, let's also unpack this before we get going.
Yeah, what do you got?
And we'll dive into this at 7. It's a pretty massive story. Your coach turns Bama down for Oregon.
Big story.
Theodore Lanning Johnson.
We going
Theodore Daniel Johnson. I don't know. Are we considering naming things? Or counterpoint, my ultimate take is he eventually will leave once he's more, established, older, success.
No, he's never leaving.
Never leaving. Okay. Bobby Bowden 2.0.
Never happening.
I'm sure.
He's going to be rolled out of that in a grave in 90 years.
Do you consider it, or are you not that guy?
Here's the big fear.
Yeah.
I have another buddy who I went to Oregon with who is, of course, a diehard Duck. I grew up around him. He got a dog in his adult life, and it's been a long time since we've been out of college, but he got a dog a few years after he graduated, and he named his dog Titan. The reason he named his dog Titan was because he was a Mariota guy. Mariota played for the Titans, and now he's left with a dog named Titan. So there's always that fear. I love the idea. I would love to do it. The wife would never go for it. And if he does leave in 2 years, then you got problems. Do you remember the fan this past year?
Don't you just hate? No, you don't hate, but like you kind of look at your dog and like, come on, Titan.
Come on.
Titan.
I mean, I think I would try and change the name if I'm being honest with you. There was a kid who showed up, I think on one of the Lebitard things where they had a gal who went to different college games throughout the course of the year.
Oh, yeah, I saw a couple of those this year.
Fans and all that.
Yeah.
She was at an LSU game this year talking to a fan, and all of his buddies were like, ask him what his middle name is. Ask him what his middle name is.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, what's your middle name? And he said, my middle name is Saban. And he's an LSU fan, but it's because he was born at the time that LSU won the national championship, and Nick Saban was their head coach. And the parents were like, I mean, this guy's a legend. We got to name him after Saban.
Yep.
And then Saban went on to not only come back to the SEC, but go to their rival and win 6 more national championships.
But let me ask you this.
And you're named after the Alabama head coach.
Yeah, but also like the GOAT, you could spin this. You're an LSU fan, but he was part of your legacy too.
He won a title there.
Like I don't think if anybody is out there that's our age or older, probably older, if anybody's out there and they gave their kid a middle name of Bilotti or Mike, or there's a Chip, like I don't think that aged poorly.
No, Bilotti's a little different because he was like, that was the end of his coaching career.
Sure.
And he's most known for Oregon, and Chip still is most known for Oregon.
That was his whole...
That's his calling card.
Yeah, it was his legacy building.
Built his career.
Yeah.
You can get away with that. I guess that's a valid point, that if Lanning sticks around and he has the success that many hope that he can, then it doesn't matter if he leaves or not. It's still a good name.
Like, I'm not giving my kid the middle name Orgeron if I'm an LSU fan because of one great season.
What about Burrow, though?
Yeah, Burrow. Yeah.
There aren't any Duck fans that like went with Mario because they were feeling emotional after the Rose Bowl win. I hope. Chris.
You have a lot of
Mario Cristobal.
You have a lot of white people naming their child Mario if they don't have Italian.
Very common name in Medford.
Is it?
Very common.
Klamath Falls, a lot of Marios out there.
A lot of Marios in K Falls.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this though. I'm not asking you something, but I actually think what you're saying is worse. And we have a mutual friend of ours, Kyle Nepper, and I hate to name him, but he's an example.
What's up, Kyle?
He did the Mariota Titan thing, but he did it with Joey and the Lions.
He did.
I never for the life of me will understand that decision. The great college quarterback or player for my team, I'm just going to root for his NFL team. The NFL is a different beast.
Yes.
I'm not cross-pollinating my college with my NFL. I'm rooting for my college. You know me. Who do I hate the most? What NFL team?
The Dallas Cowboys.
I will be kind of secretly a little happy if Cooks gets a touchdown pass. Yeah. Cooks was an awesome player for Oregon State. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. That's what I do. I think naming somebody after a coach is not as bad as picking the team because your college player got drafted by him.
I mean, here's how you have to do it. This is where Kyle Nepper went wrong, but now ultimately we'll see if he ends up being right this year.
This is a good point. Yeah.
He stuck around after the quarterback left.
He has.
Now, here's what I will do. I will come in as a mercenary fan. Like, I will parachute into your fandom and into your world and bubble. But the second my guy's gone, I'm gone too. I'm pulling the chute. I'm out of there.
Then you're not really a fan.
No, of course we're not. Yeah. I don't care about the Chargers winning or losing. Dean Spanos is an idiot. They have no fans. They shouldn't be in Los Angeles. The organization is a joke.
Yeah.
I want Herbert to win. That's why I root for them.
Sure.
And it was the same when Mariota was in Tennessee. I didn't quite do the Joey thing in Detroit, but I get why a lot of Duck fans did.
Yeah.
Then you got to pull the chute though. The second it's done, you're out of there. And he remained a Detroit Lions fan.
Now look at it.
And now 20 years later, it's finally paying off.
See if they win a playoff game, but they're hosting one.
Come on, baby.
They won their first division.
Roar boys, stand up.
I also know another former coworker did the Mariota thing, went and became a Titan fan, suddenly now a Niner fan. Really odd.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. And then it was a Bucks fan.
It was a Bucks fan first, and then randomly, like the last 2 years, it was Niner. I've been always confused by this. I won't name the name, but if they're hearing this, they know who they are.
He's got a little bit of that swag fan DNA.
He kind of does, yeah.
Swag's done this with 2 of his teams. He has not only bolted on his NFL team to go root for the Chargers, great call. He also did this to his NHL team.
He did.
He just abandoned the Canucks for no reason.
No, because they kept breaking his heart.
Welcome to the Seattle Kraken fandom. He just dumped one team and jumped on another.
Yeah, like, what if they don't win a title in the next 20 years?
They might not. They're having a great run right now,
True.
But not easy to win a Stanley Cup.
All right, well, it's going to be a good show. We have a lot to get to today. If the Bama news breaks, we'll pass it. Well, is something happening?
What's happening?
Do we have some news?
What's going on?
No, we might have to keep talking while I get our.
Oh, okay. No
we're
worries.
having issues.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
I'll let you know when we have commercials here in a second.
Okay, you let me know. Well, we have no guests today because there's a lot to get to.
Yes, there is.
We don't have time for guests. We're going to Sprague the line at 8:30. So you got to get those Sprague line sponsors in at the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. I am in a 1-2 streak for like 6 weeks, it feels like.
Oh, wait.
And what?
There is a little bit of news out of Seattle right now. Do you want to get to it, or do you want to get to it now?
Do we have time to get to it?
Oh, we have time. Yeah.
Are you going to be okay? Is everything
Are
okay?
you doing all right, Schultze?
Is
We're
it going to
doing
be
okay.
like 8 minutes?
It's going to be like maybe 2 or 3. So
Okay. All right. Well,
at least.
I had told Schultze when we got in today, I wanted him to roll on a Seattle radio station at 8 a.m. this morning because Kalen DeBoer was going to be in studio at KJR at 8 a.m. And I was just curious what he was going to say and how that message was going to go. KJR has announced that interview will be rescheduled and he will no longer be joining them in studio this morning.
Rescheduled?
Yeah, it's not going to be rescheduled.
It's not. That's the news. KJR tweeted that out a bit ago, and everybody was eager to hear from him and what he was going to have to say. And it doesn't even mean that he was going to stay, because you pointed out I did not realize that Steve Sarkisian did this years ago, and he did his in-studio interview.
2013,
He said, I'm not going to USC, and I haven't talked to USC, and then like a day later or whatever, he was on a plane to Los Angeles.
I know the NFL is the behemoth of the sports world. I have way too many Gerard Mayo tweets. I can't scroll my timeline. Every tweet is a Gerard Mayo tweet.
Congratulations, Gerard Mayo. I'm very happy for you.
yeah.
Youngest coach in the NFL. That's great. Can we clean out the timeline a little bit?
Yeah, that's all I'm getting.
It's all it is.
Every tweet is a Gerard Mayo tweet. Where the hell is the KJR tweet?
KJR tweeted it out at 6 a.m., 17 minutes ago. Husky fans, we know you were looking forward to a visit with Coach DeBoer this morning. Please understand that Coach DeBoer and UW Athletics are continuing to work towards a future we can all be excited about. At this time, Coach will not be joining us this morning, but we will reschedule our interview soon. That's not good.
I could have.
Let's be honest.
I could have put a lot of money.
What's it
last
smell
night.
like?
I went back, so I pulled up our YouTube because I was tweeting out our stuff yesterday, and it was. We had a really good show yesterday. I thought I had a lot of fun. There was a lot going on.
I can't tell if those shows are good. To be honest with you, I'm kind of just in a haze of like, look at my laptop. No, what the hell? I don't know.
We were showing each other our laptops yesterday during the show, and I thought that was quite entertaining. Look at my porn. No, you look at my porn. Ooh, you got good porn over there. And you said legitimately in the opening segment yesterday, you know, there's a chance we leave here today with Lanning reaffirming his status at Oregon and being far more concerned about the coach in Seattle being on the way out. Yeah. I think he said that 10 minutes into the show yesterday. So, tip of the cap to you, Bob.
I said it, but I don't know. I feel like you and I and everybody else that loves sports, like you're kind of hearing and seeing some of the same tea leaves. Also, he doesn't have a contract extension yet. The agent thing is what did it for me. Hearing the Feldman thing of who he hired as his agent, we can get to that if it breaks. I don't want to interrupt the show sheet that I have.
That's fine.
So there's the note.
That's the note.
His KJR interview at 8 a.m. in Seattle has been postponed? ?
Rescheduled?
I don't know if you want him on if he becomes the Bama coach, but maybe you do. I don't know. But
you had a local guy that interviewed Mario after he left. Loved my time there. Got some good players. Half the team transferred out the next year.
It was a hard-hitting interview, too.
It was. A lot of hard questions.
We have a lot to get to today. Good to be with you, Schultze. It's great to have you in. We've got some audio. I got some fun audio. I want to talk a little bit more about Nick Saban. He did a great interview with Reese Davis yesterday. Schultze pulled some cuts from that. But we're already way against it, so let's just give the Blazers what they deserve. Their segment for the day, they lost by 60 points. Next on The Fan. All right, welcome back in. Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan. I want to say a quick thank you. It is a Friday, end of the week. It's been a interesting week. A lot going on. We've got Super Wild Card Weekend to get to and discuss. I want to dive into that. We'll get to the Dan Lanning stuff at 7. If the Kalen DeBoer Bama thing is a thing and it breaks during the show, obviously we'll get into that. I want to talk about Nick Saban. I didn't feel like we talked enough Nick Saban yesterday. And then he did an interview with Reese Davis, so we got some cuts from that.
Yep.
And I got some audio I want to get to with it. I wanted to say quickly, thank you to listeners again. If you read the radio trades, we had an article come out a couple days ago that tagged us. And I don't really follow this stuff. It's not good for my mental health. It's why I don't always have the text machine up. I'm just not an individual personally that can operate in those spheres all the time. So it was good news that we read in the trades. Thank you to listeners again. This show isn't possible without people tuning in and having fun with us. And so I wanted to say thank you. Your Portland Trailblazers, Dirt.
What happened last night?
We may have had more people listening to our radio show yesterday than they had watching because they lost by 62 points.
That was so bad that at one point during the broadcast, they just threw it to Jamie Hudson to do a weather report, like in the middle of action.
Like a Portland, snowstorm.
Like, hey, so it's going to snow. What's the weather looking like tomorrow as Portland's down by 67 points in the third quarter?
I had to run errands, and so they were getting blown out, and I turned the radio on. I'm listening to Demers. And OKC scores, and I was like, I wonder what the score is. And he goes, 78-35. And I went, huh? 7. And my wife's in the car with me, and I go, 78-35. And then she does the math, and she says how much they're down. Like, I already knew how many they were down, but she said it, and I'm like, my God. How bad is this going to get? And then it was, at one point, 101-52. I had to go get my car at the dealership. It was 101-52, and I went, wow.
When you're getting doubled up in an NBA game, that late into a game, they almost lost by as many points as they scored.
I said the exact same thing to the wife. I said, there's no way. I kind of was rooting for that to happen, to be honest with you.
It was close. They lost by 68 points, I believe, and they scored 77. That's the get. There was
they lost by 62.
Oh, is it 62?
It was 62, yeah.
So they were down by 68 at one point, I believe,
yes.
right? And I read that correctly? So 62-77.
39 in the first half, 38 in the second half, 77 total. Consistency.
This is true.
Demers had two things that stuck out to me. I want to comment on our old coworker here. The only good thing he had to call all night was that Matisse Thybulle had picked up a steal to extend a steal streak of 26 games.
Hey, look at that.
Like, he got it with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Way to go, Tease.
And Demers, I'm trying to match the excitement, went, and he got it! Because literally he had nothing else. He was talking about monster trucks at one point. I mean... And I jokingly kind of sent this out, but when you lose by 60, does somebody lose a job? I don't know what to do with this anymore. I'm finding Twitter too toxic to talk about any of it. There doesn't seem to be real much middle ground. It's fire Chauncey or you're an idiot if you want to, and I don't want to participate in that. But man, I knew this was going to be not a good season. Some of these games, and that's not even the worst loss in their franchise's history.
No, it's not.
But at least I know that in 1998, it got better, and I don't know if it's going to get better in 2023.
To the question about firing...
2024, excuse me.
Yes, going forward. The question about firing a coach, Jody Allen or Burt Cold, whoever's calling the shots, we tend to know who that is, just fired the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL organization that she owns, who had back-to-back seasons of 9-8. He was above 500 each of the 2 years. They shockingly went to the playoffs last year, in which everybody expected them to take a massive step back. They went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
At 9-8.
Yeah.
They followed that up with another 9-8 campaign without a franchise quarterback, and he actually missed a couple of games this season. They were above 500 and missed the playoffs by just a margin. Tiebreaker against the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
That's why they're not there.
Yep.
And that got the coach fired.
Yeah. But this is a rebuild.
Yeah. So that was supposed to be a rebuild, and they went above 500 both years. This is supposed to be a rebuild, and we're losing games by 60 points, but we can't fire the head coach. I'm not arguing in any way, shape, or form that firing Chauncey is going to change the outlook of this year's team.
No, this team's not
Nobody
good.
believes that. Nobody should argue that. It's just an idea of like, is anything happening? There was a clip. I don't know if you want to keep talking about this, but Anthony Simons was on the JJ Redick podcast this week.
I meant to listen to it yesterday, and I just kind of ran out of time with things I was doing.
I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I got a good chunk of it in. And one of the anecdotes they were talking about was Damian Lillard and his leadership and how he helped
I saw that cut,
get to the player that he is.
Mentoring him, yeah.
There was an anecdote in there where he said there was a game against Dallas legitimately, last week, whenever one of those 2 games that they lost by 50 points in. And he said they were throwing looks at him defensively that he was overwhelmed by. They were trapping him. They were double teaming him. They were giving him looks that he just is not used to, now being the number 1 scorer in the offense. And he said in the aftermath of that game, during the game, he's thinking to himself, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. I'm just passing out. They're taking me out of the game. He said after the game, his response to that was to call Dame and to say, hey, what do I do here? How do I handle this? When they throw this at me, what should I do? And Dame gave him some feedback and said, you should try this, try that. You can't let him take you out of the game. And I thought to myself, you have a head coach who was a guard in the NBA. Yet, wasn't that the whole point in hiring him? I'm not saying that Chauncey's not helping Anthony Simons in any way, shape, or form. I just found that fascinating of when it was brought up, I'm getting defensive looks that I don't know how to handle. It wasn't, I'm going to go talk to my coach on the bench who was a point guard who won an NBA championship. I'm going to call my former teammate.
I think relationships, this can happen in the league when you have good relationships. I hear everything you're saying, and I'm not like disagreeing with that either. Like
where are they improving? What are they doing?
You shouldn't have to call. I think the point you're making, and I kind of agree with it, you can talk to Dame about things and ideas or coverages or schematics.
Yes.
That seems like a question you shouldn't need to have to ask Dame, that your coach should, like a coach or the coaching staff or whoever, somebody should be able to provide that information, like in the locker room after you're done being pissed off by losing by 30.
Yes, or after a possession when you come over to the bench, like, hey, remember when they trapped you and double teamed you coming over the half court? Why don't you try this next time? Why don't you try that?
I wish we had another team, because they'd really get their comeuppance. Dude, they're such an irrelevant team right now.
That was so bad.
They're going to get waxed tonight. They play Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm glad we rested the young guys. We got a back-to-back tonight. Yeah. So I'm glad we sat all the young guys.
We won't lose by 62, I don't think.
Look, I'm rooting for Scoot. I hope he has a great career. The goggles are cool. The afro's cool. His plus-minus is something that I know.
It's not his fault.
I just didn't know that was humanly possible.
No, I mean.
He played 31 minutes and was a minus 56.
Shea Gildress played 21 and scored 31 points. Efficiency. Let's get off of this. This is a hellscape for me.
I'm actually quite enjoying it.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty. I'm laughing at it, too.
I can't help but chuckle. It's ugly.
Nick Saban retired. I want to talk a little bit about him, and here's some fun with audio coming up next. But first, Schultze with a sports update.
This is a Wild Card Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Only 24 cents to enroll this January. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, breaking news this morning in the NFL. The Patriots have chosen former player and current linebackers coach Gerard Mayo to succeed Bill Belichick as their next head coach. Mayo had a plan included in his contract last year so they could hire him immediately. And at 37, he will become the youngest head coach in the league, actually just a month younger than current Rams coach Sean McVay. And the association, the Blazers, suffering the 5th worst loss in NBA history last night as the Thunder demoralized them 139-77. That marks a 62-point defeat. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 31. Josh Giddey adding a triple-double. Portland, no time to lick their wounds. Back at it tonight against the Timberwolves in Minnesota. A 15.5-point underdog there. Tip-off at 5 p.m. on Root Sports. And in college football, the NCAA imposing significant penalties on Florida State football for many rule violations, and that's going to include a 2-year probation period, disassociating from their NIL collective, and suspending offensive coordinator Alex Atkins for 3 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The playoff, the big game. Watch and wager on all the action at Spirit Mountain Casino. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Daily Boost is the podcast for in-depth analysis on the sports betting landscape. Listen on Odyssey or wherever you get your podcasts.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard
Dirt and Sprague with you on this Super Wildcard Weekend Friday. We get ready for all the NFL. We will get to a lot of the NFL today, I promise. I know yesterday was kind of a flight tracker, landing, Bama, goats retiring all over the place show, and I don't think we talked to any Wildcard Weekend stuff, and so.
A little bit with Ken, but that was it. A couple of gambling nuggets, but that was all.
That was it. We will dive into it today. I want to talk a little more Nick Saban. He did a sit-down interview with Reese Davis. Schultz pulled these cuts. I want to start. Schultz, I believe the why he retired one is the very first question, right? I thought this was I've flipped on the Nick Saban stuff. I mean, when you and I started doing a radio show, we were much younger, and yeah, he's kind of the red ass yelling at the clouds on Chip Kelly, and then he's doing the Chip Kelly thing. And, but he's evolved really well, and I don't know. Just something about him that I've really come to appreciate the last 6 to 7 years. And so big deal that he retires. This is why he retired. I thought this was a very honest answer and one that not many people would want to say publicly.
No, I don't think there's any good time, especially when you're a coach, because once you're a coach, you think you're going to be a coach forever. But I actually thought that in hiring coaches, recruiting players, that my age started to become a little bit of an issue. People wanted assurances that I would be here for 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and that got harder and harder for me to be honest about. And to be honest, this last season was grueling. It was a real grind for us to come from where we started to where we got to. Took a little more out of me than usual, and when people mention the health issue, it was really just the grind of, can you do this the way you want to do it? Can you do it the way you've always done it and be able to sustain it and do it for the entire season? And if I couldn't make a commitment to do that in the future, the way I think I have to do it, I thought maybe this was the right time based on those two sets of circumstances that, like I said, there's never a good time. But I thought maybe this was the right time.
Just the grind. The grind got to him, and he had a blurb about, recruits and parents and some coaches like, hey, how much longer are you going to be there? How committed are you? And he's right. Year after year, it becomes harder and harder to be like, whoa, I'll be here for a blank amount of years. He's 70, what, 72?
72.
72 years old? That's a pretty honest look at somebody who, by the way, was in the Final Four this year.
Yes, he was. He was a play away from winning that game and maybe winning a national championship. We do this a lot with athletes, and I want to make sure we do it with coaches as well. I think one of the hardest things to do for all of these people, because they are ultra competitors, they've been doing this their entire lives. How many years has Nick Saban now been a coach in football at either level? 45 years. It's been a long. That dude started coaching probably relatively shortly after college.
Yeah.
And he is now 72 years old. This is his entire life. And it's not easy to walk away from this stuff. Nobody wants to see the player, the Jerry Rice in a Seahawks uniform. We just don't. That's painful. It gives us a vision in our mind of God, I remember when you were the great. Why are you still playing? So this is what's so unique about LeBron. Having the ability to look at it and understand, I can't do it at that level anymore. I have set a standard for myself for my entire career that it's one way and we're going to do it the best we possibly can, and I'm not going to let that slip. I thought our buddy Josh Pate had a great point on his show last night. Not every old-time coach has done this. Go look at Joe Paterno in Penn State. The last 15 years of that wasn't pretty. It wasn't Penn State in the 1980s when they were competing for national championships. We don't need to get into the off-the-field stuff. Bobby Bowden at Florida State. The end of it was he's just hanging on. He's sitting in a golf cart at practice in a straw hat and where are we going? You can't fire him because he's Bobby Bowden. So for him to understand and acknowledge this is it. I've run my course and I can't do it at the top of the top. And so I'm walking away. I give him a lot of credit for that.
I thought there were a couple things that I've heard and I've read that I just think kind of explain. Some coaches, it's hard year after year after year after year. I thought he had a couple interesting blurbs, which given their situation, they're looking for a coach that may fill that void today. He told Reese Davis, it's harder to maintain success than to go from the bottom to build up to success. That's a fascinating thing to say in the moment where your school has success and you're looking to sustain it.
Have fun trying to maintain that.
He's going to have an office at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yes, he is.
So he'll overlook everything. There was a blurb from Feldman where Feldman said, you know the difference between him and Jimbo that I heard that I really liked, and I thought this was a really cool little nugget. When Jimbo won the title and then Jimbo went to A&M, you could not tell Jimbo anything. Jimbo knew because Jimbo won. Jimbo. Nick Saban, every day of his career, called and talked to coaches just so he could keep in touch with what was happening at lower levels, with younger coaches, different systems, recruiting things. Do you know, he admitted in his interview yesterday, Dirt, he was interviewing coaches the day he retired?
Yes, he was. He said he wasn't, and I was wrong on that. I assumed he had made this decision previously. He claims that he made it he was still working and he didn't know what speech he was going to give to the team when he walked into the locker room.
I don't want to call him a liar. I think he just mentally couldn't grasp it fully. I still think he knew he was kind of hanging it up. Miss Terry's hug, the wave goodbye, unusual things for him. But his routine is wake up, go be the coach. And the day he retired, he had 3 interviews, and he got done with them. And 4 or 5 hours later, he's like, well, I'm done. It's just like, what a weird thing to go into work kind of knowing you're retiring, but refusing it. And then by the end of the shift, you're like, yeah, I'm done.
He woke up and went to work yesterday.
I know.
He went into his office.
He's going to do this every day. He said he's going to show up every single day and still do stuff. I got 2 audio clips I want to get to.
Okay.
Can I give you a job I think he'd be stellar at that could actually continue the legacy if he so chooses?
Oh, what do you got?
I would love to see him in the media.
Yeah, I think he's going to College Game Day. He basically hinted with Reese Davis that's happening.
I think he's going to be good because he won't give me the hot takey thing. He'll just give me the coaching thing, and I want that.
Get Lee Corso off of that dais and put Nick Saban on there.
I think he'd be a really good athletic director.
I do too.
And I think you can make a good argument, as biased as you might think it is with his conference affiliation. I think he'd be a great commissioner for the whole thing of college football as they move into this semi-smaller NFL sphere.
You need somebody in charge that can corral support and get everybody on the same page, and there's nobody in the sport that has more respect than Nick Saban, and I would hope that he would be willing to do something like that. You would need all the conferences to sign off on it. I don't know if they would, but at the very least, I expect him to be on TV next year, and he has been terrific every time he has been, and I think it'll be an upgrade for whoever gets him, likely ESPN.
I'll only pull one cut, Schultz. I appreciate you getting both. We don't have time for the longer one here. You may not remember this. Do you remember who the last coach of Alabama was? The last game for Alabama before they hired Nick Saban.
Oh, God.
If you don't know it, I want you to noodle. I'm going to play the audio of him. This was him at the half talking to the media. This was the last game before they hired Nick Saban. Take a listen.
Coach Kynes, it's been a while since you were the head coach. What do you tell your team at half?
We just got to stop that little inside trap. The option didn't hurt us much. We played pretty hard. We just got to stop that inside thing. Offensively, we kind of sputtered around, got the ball in the end zone. Defensively, we got to get out off the field on that 2-minute drive.
With key injuries to your offensive line, what do you do in the second half?
Oh, we're just going to play. We just got to keep playing.
Thank you, Coach.
He has a magnificent personality, I'll tell you that.
That was Alabama before Nick Saban.
Is it Mike Shula? Is that who it was?
Mike Kynes.
Mike, yeah, I would have.
He's an interim coach. Yeah. I forgot. I think that might have been the Mike Price year. They had to fire whatever it was, whoever the hell it was. That he was the interim.
Things have changed. That's the exact opposite of Jim Tom Sula, and I love it.
Like that was a little Ed Orgeron right there.
This is what Alabama sounded like before Nick Saban.
Coach, it's been a while since you were the head coach. What do you tell your team at half?
We just got to stop that little inside trap. The option didn't hurt us much.
Inside trap, man. You got to stop inside trap.
Got to stop that inside thing.
What do you do about your offensive line? Well, we just got to try harder.
He's got to play.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick Saban's blueprints. Try harder.
I did enjoy the note from Chris Lowe yesterday who said he went to his office. He will be cleaned out of his office by the end of the week.
It's done.
Is that over?
It's over, yeah.
But he's getting a new office in Bryant-Dennis Stadium. He was walking around talking to people, and then on his way out of the facility, he stopped by the Alabama golf facility and hit a bucket of balls.
Good for him.
And I thought, you know what? Good for Nick Saban.
I will say this finally. I do agree. I saw a tweet that said they should not actually clear out his office. You should just put like glass casing and leave everything as is, the way they do with John Wooden's.
Yeah, just build a new office somewhere else for the head coach.
I kind of agree. I would actually want to go. If I was randomly visiting McGinley in Birmingham, I would actually want to go to Tuscaloosa just to look at his office.
It's a great point,
Have
man.
you done the John Wooden thing?
I have not done the John Wooden thing.
I was covering UCLA for Comcast for the first Pac-12 title game. I had like 3 hours to kill, so I just meandered about the facilities. And I just walked right into the trophy room, which is awesome. And you just look behind glass casing. There was John Wooden's office. And you're just kind of like, you're kind of mesmerized. You're like, look at his books.
Look at that.
Look at the way his chair's sitting.
It's so old.
There's a blanket there. He was old and cold. It's kind of, I don't know. It sounds dumb, but it's kind of cool.
I'm with you. They should do that. His ability to evolve will always be impressive. Like, I think you look at what Dabo's going through right now. You mentioned Jimbo. Like, a lot of these guys, you feel like they're the next big, here comes the next big thing in the sport, and they can't evolve with it. And what Saban was able to do to adapt to so many different eras and systems, and from the BCS to the 14 playoff to the, whatever, he has always found a way to evolve on the field and off the field, and that's the sign of a true great.
We'll get to the Dan Lanning stuff at the top of the hour. Dirt and Sprague, we're back with more on 1080 The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
On 1080 The Fan.
You know, it doesn't happen often, college football stealing everything from the NFL this week.
It's a year-round sport now, man, with the portal, coaching changes. It's absolute chaos for 12 months a year.
Softy's not handling it well.
I bet not. These last 2-3 days, it's going to be documentary worthy, which is why the college football coverage is stealing.
Schultz, he tweeted 8 hours ago, I got to get off this emotional roller coaster from last week to this week. I'm spent.
I've experienced losing a national championship game twice. It's not fun. It's incredibly painful and about the worst thing that you can go through as a fan. I've experienced losing a head coach and getting dumped. Not fun. It's an absolute twist of the knife in the back.
3 times.
3 times. I've never dealt with the same thing or both of those things in the same week.
Yes.
And I can't even imagine what the we are legitimately a week ago, we were doing shows previewing the national championship game and how Washington could win a national championship to 1 week later. Not only did they get steamrolled in the game, they now might be losing their head coach.
Deal said, this is still better than interviewing Charlie Ward, though.
A non-existent DeBoer interview is better than Ward? I don't know.
I don't think, were you at the Fan? You probably don't remember this. We interviewed Charlie Ward.
I have also interviewed Charlie Ward.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, because one of the former hosts I worked for went on a Heisman Trophy winner kick. He's like, get me every former Heisman Trophy winner you can.
Oh, I love when hosts are so realistic with guests.
Oh, yeah, exactly. For a 19, 20-year-old producer, too. It was just like, what am I doing? Anyways, but Charlie Ward...
Tim Tebow's phone number, damn it.
Yeah, well, one phone number I was able to find was, I think it was coach of a high school in Florida at the time, was former Heisman winner, NBA Charlie Ward, and was like, yo, Mr. Seminole there, would love to come on the show, maybe have you for 10, 15 minutes. He's like, sure. He's like, why do people want me on a show? And it was the worst 15 minutes of radio that I think I've ever produced.
15 minutes. We went, I think, 4 to 5, and we cut it. It was...
This is not good.
He was offered up as a podcast host, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't, thought he'd be really good. And we got him on the air, and he's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
I was really good in the NBA and at football.
It's like, okay.
Which sport did you like better? Yeah, I think I kind of like both.
So you interviewed Bill Belichick without all the championships.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I've heard Belichick interviews on WEI. He at least will answer a question every now and then.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of carry. He just doesn't like to let it out all the time, but there's something there. There's a little personality there.
Yeah, he stepped to the podium yesterday and said, I haven't seen this many cameras since we signed Tebow. It's a great line.
It's a phenomenal joke. There was the viral video of Randy Moss inviting him to the Halloween party many years ago.
I love that video.
It is one of my favorite videos that exists. If you've not watched it, go watch it. It was all over the place, and it's Moss in his office, trying to entice him, and he's like, yeah, it's Halloween, candy, costumes, what's there not to like? He shows up as this head-to-toe pirate. It's phenomenal.
This is an interesting thing that I want to get to. We'll dive into the Super Wild Card slate at 7:15. We'll get the landing stuff here in just a minute. If the intel is correct right now, so Gerard Mayo was hired by the Pats this morning.
That happened.
That was their guy the whole time.
He had it in his contract.
They never interviewed or looked at anybody else, according to the show before ours.
It legitimately said in his contract, I will be the next head coach of the New England Patriots.
Tennessee, I don't know. But the Chargers, there's been a lot of noise on Harbaugh. We'll wait and see on that. Again, some of the stuff can change. And yesterday, it kind of sounded like Washington isn't so dead set on giving everything to Bill Belichick. Where is he going? I think Carolina? Bill Belichick's not going to Carolina.
I think there will be a better team that gives him a job. I think
playoff team, maybe?
It could be, yeah. I think if you're Bill Belichick, you wait to see what happens this weekend.
You want Sirianni or Belichick?
I would take Belichick.
Really?
I would.
Sirianni just got to a Super Bowl. We'll see what they do in the playoffs.
He did. They've also crumbled this year, and they might lose this weekend in the wild card round. And Bill Belichick has 6 of them, so that's a little bit better than getting to 1.
What a brutal industry.
Yeah, it's just Philly's a fascinating team because they did this kind of with Peterson. Peterson won a Super Bowl, and then a couple of years later, they turfed him. And it's like, wait, what? And then they hired Sirianni, and they got back. So everybody thought they made the right move. I also think I don't know if Dallas is going to lose. I don't think they're going to lose. But if they do, Like, you can't keep Mike McCarthy if he loses in the wild card round, can you?
Can Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick coexist, though?
Probably not, but it would be a call if I were Jerry Jones that I would make, and it would be a team that if I'm Bill Belichick that I'd be interested in. He's not going to coach for 10 more years.
What do you think about the nugget that the Pittsburgh loses? Whether win or lose is irrelevant. There's a nugget out there that Tomlin wants to take a year off.
I've seen that one. That's interesting.
Belichick going to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, for a year maybe.
He's got, pressure to win, sure, but like that's as patient an ownership group in sports as you find.
It is. They don't have a franchise quarterback, though. If I'm Belichick, that's the only thing I care about. I'm not looking for a rebuild. I'm not going to be doing this for another decade. I'm not drafting. Like, Carolina doesn't make sense. Washington, for me, for that example, doesn't make sense.
Brady's the
that doesn't make. Who's your quarterback? Are you going to win? Are you like, who's your guy? Is Aiden O'Connell the guy? Are you drafting a quarterback? Is it going to take him 3 years to get there?
Well, he's got a winner on his roster that he's had before, Jimmy G.
Yes.
Hey,
winner.
What about Atlanta? I know they're lacking.
Yeah, Rossini mentioned that.
Atlanta could be it. Again, no quarterbacks. You got to go find one.
Exactly. You're lacking a quarterback, but I was listening to some local Atlanta sports radio, and they were talking about a couple of things they're looking for in their head coach. I mean, Arthur Blank, I heard Isaac say this yesterday on primetime. He loves old guys, and he's right. I think you're talking about, like, can Jerry and Bill coexist? No, but I think Arthur and Bill could coexist for 3 to 4 years. If they draft a quarterback, that's someone you want there. He could build maybe a staff up of assistants ready, somebody to take over. Like, it just seems like a good fit, and it feels like old guy knows the business of being a head coach, can develop a staff, can develop a quarterback. They're going to draft pretty high, I'd say. So no,
but if that offense is what it was in New England, Atlanta's not a city that wants to put up with that offense.
No.
That city is Flash, Vic, Lamar Jackson. They want a good quarterback. They want a fun offense to watch, man. Like, that's why the Lamar Jackson trade should have happened. They should have went and got Lamar Jackson.
God, with those weapons.
Oh, my God. Kyle Pitts would have actually gotten the football. Bijan Robinson and Lamar on an RPO? Oh, my God. Who do you gear up for on that one?
Arthur Blank came out the other day and said, we made the right call not pursuing Lamar Jackson. Okay.
All right.
Let's
keep doubling. A second MVP. But
yeah, I think if I'm Belichick, my thought process would be, what happens in Dallas and Philly? Wait and see there. If one of those two jobs opens up, those are Super Bowl rosters in my mind. That
they have the offense. They only need defensive tweaks in Philly.
I can feel how I want about Hurts as a top 5 guy, but he's a franchise quarterback. Yeah. I don't deny that. Dak is as well. And then I think if those two don't open up, my next one would be the Chargers, because you have Justin Herbert. You've answered that question. I can handle the defense. Let's go find an offensive coordinator. Those would be the 3 jobs that I would look at.
Dan Lanning chooses Oregon over Bama and Super Wild Card Weekend. Loaded second hour, Dirt and Sprague on YouTube, 1080 The Fan, and the Odyssey app.
Hey, it's Rob, and for those who love
0-0 in the playoffs. So we just needed our opportunity. We got it.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2. If you missed the first hour of the show, any hour of the show in general, you can always catch it at the Service Patriots podcast section at 1080thefan.com or wherever you find your podcasts. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. And you can reach the show at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them for more information at vancouverford.com. We have a lot of football to get into.
A lot of football.
I had a listener yesterday saying they'd take your position, but their initial tweet was, "Why are you watching the NBA?" And I just said, some of us like other sports. It's not just football and nothing else.
Loser. Don't be a loser over there. I watched a little bit of your Beavs last night, too. It was on too late,
don't get me started.
I went to sleep. But
choking that game away.
Not good. Not a good loss.
How'd your Duckies lose?
They did not play last night.
Well, how did they
they
played
Cal.
Cal, that's right.
On Saturday. But Infali Dante's supposed to be back.
Good news.
Very excited.
I'm just wondering at what point is Oregon State going to care that their basketball teams come irrelevant for a long time?
This is the oldest thing I've ever said, but 8 p.m. tips. What are we doing? Why are we starting college basketball games at 8 o'clock at night?
They did the same thing they did the last 8 p.m. tip. They started out strong, and I went to bed, and I woke up to a loss. It was great. But no, Sprague, they went to overtime.
Can we start the game at 7? What the hell are we doing here?
We have become we've been irrelevant for a long time, but I'm only watching because they got a couple good players, and they still suck, this team.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Somebody's got to get the 8 p.m. tip, guys. They're not going to ever, play
And it has to be us, doesn't it, Schultze?
Say it with your chest.
Huh? Say it with your chest.
That Wayne Tinkle should have been fired 5 years ago? How about that?
Well,
Say it with the chest. The Beavers should have tried to invest in alternative sports, but they didn't. What a fail.
We wouldn't have gotten to lead 8 5 years ago if we didn't have Wayne Tinkle. Do you remember that?
Well, whatever. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to let this.
You betray your father. You're not allowed to talk in this segment anymore.
I stood next to Mitch Canham at the Civil War.
Oh, did you?
Seemed like a nice guy.
Mitch Canham. I met him one time.
Did you? Yeah.
Really nice guy.
We had him on the show once. Didn't we? I think we did. I think we did when he was hired.
I think we had your baseball coach.
Pretty sure we maybe.
You're leaking confidence.
Whatever.
We will start diving into the NFL playoff matchups, the Super Wild Card weekend. Unfortunate for all our significant others, we might have to stay in and watch football all day because it might snow.
We're going to get 8 inches tomorrow, and you got football with some cold temperatures on your television.
I can't wait for my wife to go, "That's what 8 inches is, huh?" Looks like a lot more when. Anyways, let's.
A full body boner for 2 weeks.
I want to start with is this a good apology? Brandon Kamerman of KVAL sent out his apology yesterday via the KVAL Twitter account. Grade the apology, Dirt. You're the Duck fan.
Okay.
You heard the intel.
Yes, we made fun of this guy a lot yesterday.
You tell me how you feel about this apology.
Yesterday, we were part of those rumors reporting that Lanning was in Alabama. That information was wrong. I take full responsibility for that. It wasn't the KVAL sports team. It wasn't the rest of the news department here, which is filled with ethical, strong journalists. That one was on me. I take it seriously, and I do want to apologize to our viewers and to my colleagues. We strive to be accurate in our reporting, and when we make an error, as I did yesterday, we own up to it. Dan Lanning in Eugene has absolutely no egg on his face tonight. I wear the egg, and this is turning into a golden age for Oregon football. Duck fans have a lot to be excited about.
Don't butter me up.
Yeah.
Don't blow smoke up my butt by complimenting the football program. This dude's clearly an Alabama guy, first off. That's part of the reason he ranted about it on the news. Look, thank you for apologizing. That's more than what some people will do. It does not excuse what he did. It was embarrassing, and it wasn't necessarily like we're mad at him. It was more of we're just mad at the entire process, that people just feel like they can report and state as fact anything that they hear or anything that they feel like is happening without any sort of repercussion. It wasn't just this guy. It's about the entire news world, and it's really frustrating. And so this, good for apologizing, but he's done this before. He did it when Mario was there.
Yeah, but you highlighted what I noticed the first time I watched it, the very ending of it. You know, I'm wrong. Man, the Ducks, though, huh? They're going to have a great year.
Totally just trying to change the subject.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I stole your car, but man, what a house you have.
Like this guy legitimately, this is how dumb coaching rumors are. This guy legitimately led to like tear and panic for an entire fan base for no reason. No reason. Well, this was the thing everybody was citing. It got aggregated by every reporter across the country that Dan Lanning is in Tuscaloosa. We started the show yesterday, and I told you with 100% certainty he is not in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But everybody was like, well, are we sure? I don't know. We might. I don't. This guy said, like, no, he was never in Alabama. This guy made up the report.
That's why this didn't go far enough, though, in my opinion. I appreciate the apology. However, you still kind of get off a little scot-free not really talking about who told you, where you heard it from, and that's something that it's not just this situation, but any kind of rumor like this. We've got to get to a point where the standard is, no, you know what? I'm outing whoever the hell told me this BS crap because I'm looking bad, but I'm going to throw egg on the face that, you know what? All right, I bought the BS, but I'm throwing egg on the face of the guy or the gal that told it to me too. So I can't stand that you just ended at apologizing. No, there needs to be 2 more sentences. Here's who told me. Here's specifically what I heard, and here's why I went with it. And we're not there as a society. It sucks.
You should throw a pencil.
I did throw a pencil.
I heard that. We're getting angry. We're getting frustrated.
Let me throw some. I'll throw some.
Yeah, throw it. Oh, hand. No, that was a hand. That
was hand sanitizer. That was a clean throw.
I think it just exploded all over the floor.
I hate yellow journalism being passed off because yellow journalism is not okay, but just going with anything a quote-unquote source says is. It's
well, Lanning wasn't in Tuscaloosa. He was watching the Bourne movies with his kids. That's what he told Pat McAfee.
That's good movies, man.
If I had Dan Lanning on the show today and I was the one like introing in, I'm not kidding, I would tee up as if I'm going to talk about that, and I'd be like, I really want to know, though. Bourne movies overrated? Not overrated. How are we feeling as an action movie fan, where he's at on that series?
Well, which Bourne was it?
I think it was the first one. I think he's diving into the series.
The first one is not an overrated movie.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's a hot take.
The movie,
I disagree strongly.
The movie itself starts the dumbest way possible.
Question.
Hey, a guy face down just floating in the ocean.
Okay, time out.
How long's he been there?
Challenge flag.
Is he holding his
challenge
breath?
flag? Time out.
Let's pick up the body out of the water.
You like movies in which cars fly out of airplanes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Now you can continue on your rant.
They also went to space.
They did. They went to space with cars.
Cool.
Were they driving on the moon with no gravity?
But they know what they are. And Jason
the Bourne movie does too. It's a make-believe movie.
They try to play it off as it's real.
Let the man float in the ocean, okay? He's got little different weight things that keep him from flipping over, and you know.
Matt Damon is a smart janitor in Boston. He's not a secret agent.
Look, I would agree with you.
How about them apples?
As the movie goes on, or as the movies go on, it definitely they lost the plot a little bit.
Well, every movie series eventually does.
But
right?
I will hold up that first Jason Bourne, whatever the Bourne one was, the first one. That was a good movie.
In typical fashion, we sign off. We told you this was going to happen, and literally a minute after we signed off, it did. Here was why Dan Lanning was so quiet. The greatest marketing push in college football, I think. One of the best institutions for marketing.
Substance.
I mean, it's really well done. It's not a shot. They put this together for Dan Lanning, and he tweeted it out.
Who has goals and aspirations? Raise your hand up. All right, everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at. If that's how you reach goals and aspirations, that's how great things happen. It's not about worrying about the next thing. It's about worrying what's right in front of you, 6 inches right in front of your face. I want to remind you guys what that means. You guys that just got here don't know them, right? But it means something to be an Oregon Duck. Everybody makes what? They all make commitments to things that they're going to do. A lot of starters. The world doesn't have a lot of what? Finishers. We're finishing.
I want to be here in Eugene for as long as Eugene will have me. This place has everything that I could possibly ever want. There's a little bit of a problem in society today with people looking for what's next and where there's an opportunity. And the reality is, you know, the grass is not always greener. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
So he recruits guys by saying, if you're worried about your coach leaving, come here. I'm not leaving.
Come play for us.
Really good point on that. I think he's so right. And, you know, I think it's why eventually he'll be an Oregon State coach. He's smart like me. He gets it. Everybody looking for the next thing. Like, I mean, you can argue to the cows come home of what jobs are better than Oregon. I mean, he's recruiting at a top 10 level. He's got all the NIL. He's got backing with boosters, top facilities. Argue with the clouds. It's a great place to live. And, yesterday was a big day. He solidified himself as a god in Eugene, probably forever.
Build a statue.
Him and Damian Martinez. They're just big, big day for Oregon and Oregon State yesterday.
It was so funny because all day yesterday, or not all day, because this came out right after we got off the air, but yesterday morning, the thought was, if he's not taking the job, why hasn't he just come out and said it?
Yeah.
That's all he has to do is just send out a tweet and say, I'm not leaving.
I was wondering if something like this was being made,
And this is how his mind works. He said that he was sitting at home watching the Bourne movie with his kids, relaxing at home, and then his kids started to get blown up by friends, text messages of, hey, is your dad in Tuscaloosa? Is he leaving? And his kids were like, Dad, why is everybody saying you're in Tuscaloosa, as they were watching the movie? And then his idea was, instead of just sending out a duck emoji or a here's where I'm at right now, he thought, why don't we pre-produce a video, send this out? It's going to get 25,000 retweets, and it's going to turn into a recruiting pitch and get me talked about across the entire sport. Do you know that Steve Sarkisian did something similar last night?
He did it very late.
Is anybody talking about it? Does it turn into it? He just said it's a great day to be a Longhorn, and it's like, okay, I guess.
But Texas fan, I think, was pretty excited about that.
Of course they were, but to turn this into a recruiting pitch was next level genius, and it's why we love Dan Lanning, man.
It doesn't matter. I'm just kind of curious. Both your thoughts real quick, and then we'll go to Super Wildcard Weekend, because Duck fans been celebrating this for 15, 16 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is he a Mike Bellotti to you guys? Is this he's going to be there for longer than people think? Like him is my take. I think he's going to be here for 7 to 8 years total. Another gig opens. Eventually he goes on. Or do you buy it? Do you really buy that he's going to be here longer than most people assume?
That was my thought. I mean, I don't know if Schulte agrees, but my thought yesterday when all this was happening was he has been so emphatic. Every time there's been a rumor. Mm-hmm. This isn't the first one. Remember last year it was Auburn. Everybody thought, he's Auburn. Number one candidate. He's going to go to Auburn.
Well, Feldman
was A&M.
Feldman cryptically said a school kicked the tires on Lanning.
Yes.
To find out about the buyout stuff, which is more than reported $20 million.
They're going to keep kicking the tires on him every offseason.
That was the only school I could think of.
Well, A&M, I think, probably sniffed. I don't know if he was their top candidate.
Maybe A&M. Yeah, that's a good one. But Auburn kind of makes sense, too. I mean, just the SEC Southern thing makes sense with him because of his roots.
He's done this, though, with jobs that a lot of people around the country would say Auburn's a better job, said no. A&M's a better job, said no. Alabama's definitely a better job, said no. At some point, I just have to believe him. I'm always a hopeless romantic. And when you have somebody who stands by their word, I want to believe them. And so when he says it time and time again, I'm not going anywhere, it was great to see him come out and do it again, even more emphatically yesterday. And I do think that they have their guy who's going to want to build something and be here for the long haul. Is that 10 years? Is that 15 years, 20 years, 7 years? I don't know, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And it's really exciting because I think we saw on Monday night, to win a national championship, it's a process and you got to build to get there. Michigan didn't get there overnight, and Oregon has not had that ability with a head coach. They have not had a head coach longer than 4 years since Mike Bellotti was there. And so this is finally your chance to build something special, and it looks like the future is incredibly bright.
Sadly, though, what you just cite, you're right. You're largely right. The school that lost in the title game was kind of able to go against what you just said. They did it quickly, and boom, 4-8 to the title game.
And where are they going next year, though?
Well, but that's my thing is today they wake up and...
Even if he stays, they're not competing for a national championship next year.
Oh, I wouldn't put them necessarily in that category, but I do think it's kind of dangerous for us to just assume they're going to take this massive step back. That guy's he's pretty good, man.
He is. He also had dominant wide receivers who are first-round NFL draft picks, a Heisman Trophy finalist quarterback, elite NFL edge rushers.
But when a guy coaches that successfully to start, isn't there an element of maybe give him the benefit there?
Did we do that for Mark Helfrich?
I feel Mark Helfrich is different. I do feel like for Mario and now Dan, I feel like when they they're replacing Bo with Dylan Gabriel. Mm-hmm. Gabriel on paper looks good. I don't know if Dylan Gabriel is going to go get you to a national championship. I don't know what receiver is going to take up Franklin's production, but you guys have a lot of players there that seemingly on paper can step in and fill some of those voids, but I don't know. We give benefits to certain coaches and other coaches we don't. I don't know what Washington and DeBoer would be or will be. We'll wait to see. But it's they're kind of like a weird standalone example of like, how the hell did this happen so quickly? Again, to your larger point, you end up being right because you got to build these things up. It's not just happening overnight for most teams.
If you want to compete for national championships year in and year out, you have to be a top 10 recruiter. That's just a fact.
That's just what the sport says.
You can have one-offs, you can have runs, you can have magical seasons. If you want to compete year in and year out, you have to be a top 10 recruiter. That's why we focus on winning off-season national championships in Eugene, Oregon. And yesterday was our biggest off-season national championship of all time.
Yes.
We hung another banner yesterday, and it felt great.
Yeah, to answer your question, I'd actually say he's bigger than Mike Bellotti because of that recruiting reason right there. We are competing for national championships at Oregon.
Can I just budge in real quick?
Sure.
And you're maybe right here. You're a Duck fan.
Well,
it's a bit different of a world though than when Bellotti was the coach, right? I mean, just the landscape of the sport, the way the sport kind of moves now. You got NIL, you've got the portal. There are other ways. Bellotti, how many years did Bellotti try to recruit his ass off? Couldn't quite get to a certain point.
I hear you.
He couldn't replace guys by getting players from other teams the way that
I get it.
can.
The level of success, though, is different. I mean, we loved Rich Brooks because he was a terrible coach, but hey, he beat the Beavers every year. So,
the program's in a different space.
Exactly. So that's kind of why I say it's a whole new level. And that's why, for 10, 15 years, I don't expect Lanning to go anywhere. It's kind of funny. If you heard him on the Pat McAfee show, I actually love this question by McAfee talking about like, hey, do you have like an NFL dream job? Is that kind of in the back of your mind? And it does worry me a little bit down the road, way down the road, that, I think he's a Chiefs fan and he would, dream job would be to coach the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL someday. So unless like Kirby Smart in like a decade, near the age of 60 says, I think I'm going to hang it up, and maybe the Kansas City job opens up, but we're talking 10 to 15 years away. Those are the only things I see Lanning leaving for, but Oregon's set, baby.
Let's get to Super Wild Card Weekend. Let's dive into the matchups. We've got an interesting game on our hands this weekend, and I want to start with that one. So we'll get to it next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan. All right, serious question. Schultze, turn that mic on. If I gave you actually answer me this question real quick. Are you okay over there? You look a little panicked, like something's happening. Did something happen?
No, nothing's happening.
Okay.
But
Sometimes you look at that computer screen and I'm like, oh my God, news broke and I didn't see it. And here we are.
I'm trying to. I am following 3 different sources, waiting for the Kalen DeBoer news to drop, but nothing yet.
God, you're hoping so hard as you wear a Seattle.
I don't
shirt,
want him to go, man. I don't want him to leave.
I think
Really?
I
don't at all.
I'm going to get out in front of this now. I understand the internet exists, so like I'm not an idiot. I find that it's pretty awful that we just jump to the internet and we want to just piss all over people when something bad happens to their teams. Like, I don't know. I find that to be a bit odd. And also to what Dirt I think is going to say is, don't you want to see them beat him? Like, he's won 3 straight. I didn't think they'd win any of those 3 games, and they did. They won all 3 of them. I know some fans at other teams, what happens is we just cross-pollinate and we piss each other off, and so we always want to dance at each other's graves. This could be a pretty awful day for them up there. Maybe one media guy you want to go at, fine. He's kind of done it to himself. But I don't want to see him leave for Alabama. I'd like to see him stay. I think it'd make the local big B1G interesting. And if he left, I don't know how interesting it is anymore.
I mean, I will laugh definitely when he leaves, and it sounds like he is going to leave because of every comment that Washington fans have made over the last 36 hours, but I don't want him to leave. This year was fun, as painful as it was for me, because I had to watch my team lose to them twice. Mm-hmm. Twice. Those are 2 of the most painful losses I have ever been through. And I was wrong on the Huskies all year. They proved everybody wrong. They went undefeated. They made it to the national title. But when Oregon won 12 in a row, it was not fun. It was fun to beat them every year, sure. There was no energy or juice or ammunition going into the game. It was like, look at this. Washington has a bad head coach, and they won 3 games last year. This should be a fun one, but let's talk about the rivalry, and it's 52-14.
Yeah, it's turn
It's the
it off,
same for Husky fans. I'm sure it was nice to finally break the streak in 2016, but that Oregon team went 4-8 and fired Mark Helfrich. Like, congratulations on the win.
That was a win with blue balls.
Yes.
After that, it's kind of like, okay. But then Mario beat him a couple times.
He did, having the 2 teams ranked in the top 10 this year, as painful as the losses were, it was special, man. The eyes of the country was on this rivalry. It was on this matchup. And maybe if DeBoer leaves, they promote Grubb and everything's fine and Washington's back rolling where they were. We just never know. We don't know how new head coaches will perform, and I don't want him to leave.
I want to get to the NFL. So I meant to ask you at the start of the segment, if both of you, if I were to ask where would you want to sit at a football game, where would you pick? Are you like mid-100 section, 50-yard line? Like that's the perfect seat? I find being too close actually it's not as great. I like to kind of see the field, but not be too far from the action.
50-yard line, about 20 rows up.
20 rows up?
20 rows up.
Okay, I'd go a little higher, but I like that.
I'm front row guy, so put me like at the
even at a football game.
Even at a football game, because I like to hear what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I can see like what the whole picture of the field is from that point, and I'm able to see 11 from both sides. Am I above? No, but I can still see the scope of the game, and I just, for me as a sports fan, hearing what they're saying to each other, if you can catch what the refs and the coaches are saying, that is ultimate fan for me, and that's what makes it most fun.
Okay, I'm now offering you 4 tickets. 4 tickets to sit where both of you want to sit for free. Dolphins at Chiefs, minus 30 degrees. Are you going to the game?
I'm there in a heartbeat.
You're going?
I'm going. 100% I'm going.
Wow.
It's history. You might see the coldest game in the history of the NFL.
I don't know if it'll beat the Ice Bowl. The Ice Bowl with wind chill was minus 67.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get quite there.
This is supposed to be minus 30 to 39 with wind chill.
I think there's only been 3 games in the history of the NFL that have a feels like less than 0 temperatures.
Should they be playing football in this
Hell
stuff?
Yes, they should.
Put a dome on the stadium.
I mean, I think your argument would be more valid with what's going on in Buffalo.
Buffalo's bad too.
Because they might have to move the game, which is
no. They announced they're not moving it.
Okay,
yeah,
thank
not
God.
Moving it.
Because even though there's like a state of emergency in Buffalo, and they're not sure if anybody will be able to get in and out of the stadium, like that argument, you're starting to win a little bit. This one, I think it's just supposed to be cold, right? I don't think it's supposed to snow a ton.
Yeah, but minus 30.
Yeah, come on, nut up, sit down, put some hand warmers in your butt, you'll be fine.
Ken and Nick on You Better You Bet, I caught it. They had a guess they asked, and they gave themselves. They were asking how much would somebody have to pay you to go. And I was waiting if either of you would say that, and you just dove in for free.
I do it. I mean, you can always leave if you get too cold, right? You can get out of there. Just make sure you're fully layered. You got to have a lot of choices.
You're paying me to go. I'm not going to that game.
I'd have to go with my 1B favorite seat selection, which is like any of the clubs in any of these places. So like I'm a club guy. I'm a highfalutin snooty dude. So like the Diamond Club behind.
So you're either front row fan or club fan.
Yes,
that's it. Nothing in between.
And if it's
you are the bougiest radio host in America.
No, I'm not. Are you? I'm not going to name them, but I can think of at least 5 that are
if I don't have
one of which works here.
A heated box. I'm not going. I know what's Sprague line, so I don't want to just use the gambling at. How do you evaluate that game? You can tell me that, well, the Dolphins are injured, they're on the road, and it's Tua. The Chiefs also have to play in -30, and I don't give a crap if you play in it. That's still differently cold than what you play in for most of the year.
I cannot wait to watch this game.
I think it's got to be 6-3, right? Like, is anybody going to, or is it maybe one of a high-scoring affair because it hurts to tackle, and it's just like, oh, well, I missed him. Too bad.
There was a clip from Damian Woody this morning on ESPN where he said he played in a game that was so cold that both teams were talking on the field during the game. Neither of them wanted to win. He said, like, the conversation in the line of scrimmage was like, can we just I am so cold. I just want to go back in the locker room. I don't want to do this anymore.
I met a Chiefs fan during Hood to Coast. He's a really nice guy, P1 of the show. And he said he never gambles on his team because he just feels like it's too risky. I want to ask him, would you go to that game for free? Is this like most people, are they dirt or are they me? You got to pay me to go to that game. I don't like being cold. I used to not mind it. I hate it.
You just booze enough, you'll be fine. You get a liquid blanket going on. The weather that I'm with you on is rain. If it's like, that's the one where I'm like, you can't pay me to go sit in rain for miserable. 4 hours.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to you. Have you been in -30?
I have never been in -30.
Me either. And I'm going to tell you honest, trust tree. My house is set at 68 degrees right now, which sounds okay, but it's the way it's built. It's not as warm as it sounds. I meditate every night before I go to bed. I meditated. And I had a space heater going next to me last night while I was in my bed.
Look at you.
I am tissue soft. Tissue. I am 1-ply toilet paper soft. Easy rip into the hole there, buddy. I don't want to be cold. You're paying me to go to that game. I'm not voluntarily watching. I don't care if it's a playoff game. I'm not sitting in that.
Well, to answer your question, what does -31 feel like? I don't know. I want to know what it feels like.
No, you don't.
I want to experience it. I'm going to pound a bottle of Fireball in the parking lot before the game. Somebody's going to have some chili at a cookout. You're going to have some fires going. You're going to have your gloves, like long john underwear, 4 different pairs of pants, hats on, a little face cover thing.
Your aunt couldn't give me enough Fireball to go to that game.
You just got to keep boozing throughout the game and you'll be fine. You know what I used to do when it snowed in Portland when I was younger?
Coffee with Irish cream?
No, I used to just like walk around in the snow and drink 40s of Old English.
Okay.
And you just go sit outside in the snow and drink a 40 of Old English. It was like, great, we're outside, it's snowing, there's no rules, there's no cars on the road.
Sure.
This is great. I love all of this.
And when it snows in Portland, it's 33 degrees. It's not -30.
It's only a 60-degree difference.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
I'm out. I want nothing to do with it. I'm not freezing my ass
I'll tell you what, maybe this is the most misguided thing of all time. I'm not gambling on the quarterback from Hawaii in that game.
Oh, damn sure I'm not either.
Not betting on that guy.
Let me throw this stat out. Right now at McMurdo Station in Antarctica, 16 degrees.
Oh, my God.
This game is going to be 40-plus degrees colder.
Well, the feel-like temperature.
The
feel-like. It's not actually that cold.
Well, it's the wind chill. The wind chill comes in and it's like...
I think it's supposed to be like 0 degrees, but the wind chill makes it feel like it's -30.
Let's dive in a little bit more past the weather of Kansas City, Miami, which is going to be miserable. Super Wild Card Weekend is here. We get to it next. But first, Schultz with a sports update.
This is a Wild Card Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by PG Long. Your new floors are in stock and ready to install at PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts, PGLongLLC.com. First on the Fan, breaking news this morning. The New England Patriots have chosen former player and current linebackers coach Gerard Mayo to succeed Bill Belichick as head coach. He had a plan included in his contract last offseason so they could hire him immediately. And at 37, he will become the youngest head coach in the league. In the association, the Blazers suffering the 5th worst loss in NBA history as the Thunder demoralize them 139-77, marking a 62-point defeat. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 31. Josh Giddey adding a triple-double. No time to lick their wounds either. Portland right back at it tonight against the Timberwolves in Minnesota. They're 15.5-point underdogs. Tip-off set for 5 p.m. on Root Sports. Moving to college football, huge news for the Ducks again today, this time on the player side of things. They land former Texas A&M receiver Evan Stewart. He caught 5 touchdowns for them as a sophomore. And in baseball, the Yankees reaching a one-year, $31 million deal with Juan Soto. It marks the highest amount of money ever given to a player eligible for arbitration. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The playoffs, the big game, wager and watch on all the action on Spirit Mountain Casino. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Sprague. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Boy, am I glad to be done with my holiday shopping.
Oh, I know.
And now I just want to relax.
Me too. Well, except there's one more store we should check out.
Oh, no way.
Because this week, we can get a Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at an incredible price.
Really? Where?
At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. They're really cutting deals.
Because the holidays are over?
Yep. So this is our chance to get what we wanted for Christmas.
Are the prices really that good?
Yes.
.com/1080 the fan.
He might. Okay, I'm gonna guess he's a sicko and he wants to do it. Am I right?
He said, yes, I would go to the game for free.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I am bad luck at Chiefs games. So good thing I'm not getting free tickets. I was at the Bills-Chiefs game, and we all know how that one went. He said he is the Chiefs honk and the Hood to Coast guy.
Yeah.
So shout out to you for running the Hood to Coast. And somebody texting in to the Vancouver Ford text line to say, when I was a kid, it was minus 23, and your body just instantly goes numb. So you don't really notice it.
I notice
cold.
when my hands are numb, I notice
You're
it.
just cold.
I can't do anything when my hands... I also don't like my hands being numb.
Cold is cold, man.
No,
Doesn't
that's...
matter. Minus 5, minus 20. Cold
We're
is
not
cold.
we're not doing the argument
Cold
again.
is cold.
Is it better to be super cold or super hot?
You just pee your pants if you're that cold. Just let it go.
Nobody wants to piss their pants.
It's so cold, nobody's going to notice.
Are you warming up? Yeah. How are you doing it? Well,
just let it go, man.
Let it go.
Can I give you
a
a couple of gambling nuggets on that? Not that these matter because the game's going to be minus 30, but I saw this note.
Yeah, I don't think anything matters in any context with that game. I just think it's like what team, I don't know, gets kind of lucky. How do you differentiate in that weather?
I have no clue. Who can run the football, I guess, but Miami's been decent
Miami
at
can run the football, and you know who's
They
not good defensively stopping the run?
Kansas City.
25th in DVOA rush defense.
The Dolphins are 1-9 straight up and 3-7 against the spread when facing teams with winning records under Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, they have the Dallas Cowboy thing, but it's actually, I think you make an argument it's worse. They're a really fun team when they're high-end, high-octane offense, but as soon as they get a little dinged up or they play against really good football teams, they struggle. They've got to be kicking themselves the most this weekend, not on the Bills game, the Titans game. If you beat the Titans and don't blow a 14-point lead with 2 minutes left,
you can't lose that game.
You win the division. That Buffalo game doesn't matter. You win the division.
You rest everybody last week. You don't get banged up, and you're hosting a playoff game.
Yeah, so I know everybody's going to want to pick the Chiefs. I think Ken's point yesterday was valid. Miami is not going to be a favorite by most people's estimations, but be careful just assuming the other team playing in minus 30 is okay with it. The Chiefs are a weird team this year.
They are.
Their defensive, their secondary is good. The rush defense is a little weak. Chris Jones is an animal. But Miami, if Mostert can play and get going, like maybe Miami can kill some clock and run the football, and maybe it's a 9-6 type game. I don't know. It's
has a chance to be very ugly. That's for sure.
It absolutely does.
Somebody texting in. I work in freezers ranging from -10 to -20. There's no amount of money that you could pay me to sit in it for 4 hours.
Thank you.
It's so cold that your nose starts to hurt from the sting of the cold air.
And that's an expert.
Not a good time, and it's clear that you've never sat in something that cold. We used to do a show in a freezer. How cold was that freezer?
That freezer was 4 degrees.
4 degrees?
Yeah.
That was pretty miserable.
And we could only do that for like a segment at a time. We had to get out of the freezer during commercial breaks just to feel something.
We did, and those shows were miserable. I will say I wasn't allowed to booze during those.
Very
This
true.
guy's not allowed to booze while he's at work, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So you're not having a liquid blanket with you.
But if you don't want to get blackout drunk, because like what's the point of doing that? Then you won't
I don't think you
remember
need to
it.
get blackout drunk. You just got to keep a good buzz going the entire day.
See, I think eventually that alcohol is not keeping you warm for 4 hours. I think he's right. I think that, or
I mean, look,
I think that listener's right.
They're definitely right. I'm an idiot here, but I would like to. If I get too cold, I'll just leave and I'll DVR. Not DVR the game.
But then
it's
you
on
miss
Peacock,
the game in real time. You've put yourself in a conundrum.
I'll watch it when I get home. I'm not opposed to that as a fan. I can handle that. Are we excited to watch a Peacock Network game? You guys got the cock all ready to go Saturday night?
The cock is loaded and ready to go. I'm going to put the cock on the big screen.
Yeah.
Because how do you not put the cock on the big screen?
I mean, the quality of the picture will be really good. I like that.
It'll give my dad a log into the cock, so we got him all set up.
You got to share the cock. I mean, how do you not share it? Those feathers, bright and vibrant on my big screen. I'm ready for it. I find most of the complaining stupid. We have Amazon Prime games.
I do too.
We're too far into streaming to me. Are you going to find a couple people who are maybe up there in the age ladder that, hey, like, is it NBC or is it an app? Sure. we got to stop acting like everybody in society is dumb and doesn't know how to navigate streaming services anymore.
It sounds like ageism.
It does. It is ageism. It's ridiculous.
A playoff game should be all over the place, though, and that goes for every and any sport. I hate, like, during baseball, the 2 p.m. games on TNT, or the NBA playoffs. They sneak some on NBA TV.
They do conference finals on TNT.
I hate that they hide. It is literally hiding playoff games, which should be for any sport. This is our best. This is our premium
business,
show.
Man, it's business. This is why if you're NBC, you pay for the rights for the NFL because you want to grow the Peacock app, and that's their whole goal with this.
Well, and if I wanted to make the cock bigger, I would definitely want the Swifties to have to log on to it.
What do we get? 20 million? How many people do we get watching this thing?
I bet you
25?
it's close. Yeah, I bet you it's in that 20, 25 range. Because here's the other point. The NFL, people are always highlighting this. They're worried about the older people finding it. I would actually respond, the NFL should be more concerned about young people going to it. Young people know how to find it illegally. There are ways around the Cock Network for the younger people, and those are the eyeballs you're going to miss out on.
This is very true. I'm excited for it, for one. Tomorrow should be a lot of fun, and we might have 8 inches of snow in our own right, and so we get to watch ice football with ice around us.
That's kind of exciting, actually.
Be a fun little Saturday, man. Fun little Saturday. Can't go do anything. Wife can't nag you about doing something outside the house. There's 8 inches of snow out there, honey. Just make sure you get your shoveling done early if it starts snowing, and then you go back inside and you watch football all day. So should be a lot of fun. Let's get to some of the other matchups in the NFL playoffs, including a very cliche question, but I'm just curious to ask it and where you guys answer it. We'll talk some more NFL playoffs next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
We just had no resistance. I thought we allowed our lack of shot making to deflate us on the other end of the floor. And then you're playing against an elite team, that really moves the ball. They get 41 assists on 53 made field goals. It's unheard of.
There's Chauncey Billups. Blazers lost by 62 points, the second most in a loss in franchise history.
Be nice to have a head coach when you lose by 60 points to have a bit of a pulse, maybe get angry with his team, yell, get tossed from the game, get teed up, do anything, something other than talk to Scott Brooks on the sideline about what he should be doing.
Who's stinking up? The Trailblazers lose by 60, probably get waxed by T-Wolves tonight. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle those projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. They got a great special right now. Three Mountains Plumbing, threemountainsplumbing.com.
1080 The Fan.
All right, we got a short segment here. I want to get back on the clock.
Yeah, I'm
so
sorry about that. That's been my fault today.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I wanted to we'll dive back into the wild card matchups at the top of the hour. We will Sprague the line, by the way, at 8:30. So get your fake sponsors in at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. You can throw them into the YouTube live chat as well. Just wanted to give a quick update. We are on Kalen DeBoer watch here this morning. We had mentioned yesterday, or I don't know if we knew this yesterday, but we mentioned when we started the show that he was supposed to do an interview with KJR at 8 a.m. this morning, which should be coming up here in a couple of minutes. KJR tweeted this morning at 6 a.m. that interview had been canceled and hopefully rescheduled. That's what they said. KJR has sent out a follow-up tweet to this saying, we have mentioned on air, Coach DeBoer said he was unavailable this morning because he's meeting with the Washington athletic director in person, and they are hoping that a deal can be reached soon. So the first tweet of theirs blew up because everybody's like, oh my God, he canceled the interview. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
And this is their follow-up saying, no, he canceled because they're meeting with the AD. Nobody knows what the hell to believe. I just wanted to pass that along. We are still on Kalen DeBoer watch. It sounds like, as we mentioned, Steve Sarkisian has sent out multiple tweets and videos. He's not taking that job. And basically all the reporting for the last, 16 hours or so has been it is Mike Norvell or it is Kalen DeBoer. Maybe we get a surprise candidate, but those seem
Tommy
like
Rees would be the one I think.
Tommy Rees,
that's maybe
OC.
in there. I don't know. And
the Bama OC.
It's interesting theory here. I don't always agree with this guy, especially his final top 10 ranking where he had Oregon ahead of Washington. George Reister, formerly Oregon Duck.
I mean, 2 losses is better than 1, bitch.
Yeah.
Head-to-head don't matter.
Oregon's number 3 in the nation.
Eye test. What'd your eyes tell you, huh? Give me the eye test.
My eyes told me Washington won 3 games against him.
I don't know what you're talking about. It was only 2.
I think his theory here is an interesting one because maybe he is onto something. Feldman 5 minutes ago said Kalen DeBoer is one of the hottest names in coach. It may seem like it happened overnight, but it didn't. If you don't know why he's so well regarded, here's my article I wrote about him. And Reister's theory is, would a national guy resend out an article unless he was trying to get the new fan base to read the stuff that they maybe didn't read before because, well, we have Saban, so who cares about this guy in Seattle? It's an interesting theory. My cousin, as I've mentioned before on the show, he's an alum. I'm sending him these things, flight tracker things. He doesn't follow that stuff. And he keeps responding with contract leverage. And I hope for his sake and everybody else that roots for that team, they're right because I don't want to see it leave. But, man, the tea leaves are just there's a lot of indicators that this is going. I think there's a report that he's meeting with the AD at Washington.
Yep.
And some could think maybe there is a contract extension signed. It also could be a thank you so much. I have loved being here. I'm sorry. This is just, how do you say no to this job, this opportunity, you know?
We said the same thing with Lanning yesterday.
Washington probably wants the opportunity, and Kalen DeBoer is going to give it to them to have a discussion and match anything. And unfortunately,
this isn't a money deal. This is not a money decision.
No. Of course not. But what I'm saying is the opportunity to sit down with them is being given by Kalen, and that's more out of respect, I think, for the Washington program.
If this is an accurate report.
If this is an accurate report.
Is it a genuine sit down? I think that's the other thing, Schultz, is like, this to me isn't money. This is lifestyle and where you're comfortable at. Like, I love Kalen DeBoer. I think it's fair to always ask when you go from the Pacific Northwest and you have the success. Now you're going to the South, and man, it's national championship. Saban yesterday, he said he loves this team. They didn't accomplish their goal. And Reese Davis was like, you won the SEC, you got to the playoff, and he goes, but we didn't win the title. And like, that's what it will be every year for Kalen DeBoer. And Dan Lanning will have years where he doesn't win the title. That's not going to exist. People are just going to go, wow, it didn't happen. We'll see if it happens next year. That's the difference here. So I just think it's about lifestyle choice. There's not anything Washington can say. I don't think there's anything Bama can say, and it's not money. Where does Kalen DeBoer want to coach? To me, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, this is going to be. Your cousin mentioned maybe leverage and contract. What leverage does he? He already has all the leverage. He has them by the balls. Like if whatever he requests, Washington is going to have to bend over backwards to give him to keep him.
That's
whether Alabama's here or not, right? And so I tend to agree with you there. I think I would ask Kalen DeBoer, where do you want to be a college coach or do you want to be an NFL coach? Because he's always struck us as a guy who's a brilliant X's and O's mind. not dynamic in the personality department, not a great recruiter. Is that an NIL thing at Washington? I don't know, but it just hasn't quite come full circle. But nobody doubts his ability as a football tactician and an X's and O's mind. And a lot of those kind of coaches eventually want to go to the NFL. If I want to go to the NFL, I'm taking the Alabama job because that is a loaded roster with back-to-back top 2 recruiting classes that is going to compete at the highest level.
You can maybe talk some of those kids into coming back and not leaving into the portal.
Absolutely they can. He's got his quarterback coming back next year. Milroe will likely be back. So, like, you're set. You're ready to go. You go win at a high level for 2 years. You jump to the next NFL job. If you just want to be a college coach, though, like you're happy, you like this, you like the format, you're not scared off by NIL and transfer portal, stay at Washington, man, for every point that you're bringing up. We brought this up yesterday with Lanning. I know coaches don't think this way. They're alpha mentalities. I get it. But if you don't win multiple national championships, you're a failure there. That is the barometer, and I want nothing to do with that, no matter if I'm making an extra $2 million to live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So if we get any news, we'll pass it along in the final hour of the show. I want to get back into the wild card weekend. Some of the other matchups, I'm going to ask you guys a question about pressure this weekend, and we'll spring the line coming up bottom of the hour. Back after this on The Fan.
I bet you folks are glad.
this final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, and live on YouTube as we are every single morning.
Look at
this, look at that.
Are looking live.
I'm going to send out the link again so all our bros out there know to tap in. Is that what the kids say? Tap in? Is that what we do?
No, I think old people say that, thinking the young people say that, and now old people are just running around saying lit and tap in, and kids are like, we don't say that anymore.
I'm gonna quote tweet our tweet and do hashtag tap in.
I missed the whole tap in thing.
That's
right over my head.
Tap the least amount of Riz you've ever showed.
I'm showing some Riz here. I'm rizzing people up.
No.
Come Riz me up on YouTube. What? I don't know what any of that means.
Do you know what Riz means?
I don't know what it means.
It's actually a pretty big staple. My daughter told me this at the start of school.
Okay.
It's a big word in the community of children. Riz is short for charisma. He's got a lot of Riz.
He's got some Riz.
He's got that Riz.
So how do you Riz somebody up? You give them charisma?
No. Like, let's say cool kid Timmy. Okay, cool kid Timmy.
Yeah.
This is what my daughter explained to me is like they see a kid named Timmy and he's really popular. Timmy's got Riz.
You know what that is? Fat.
Like PHAT.
Fat. It's fat.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty hot and tempting.
Oh,
I remember that.
I miss a good fat.
We need to bring fat back.
We do.
Why don't we bring fat back?
You used to like say it to the girls and you'd be like teasing like, do
you're
I mean
fat.
body weight or PHT?
Yeah,
Kids are so stupid, man. Isn't it? We make fun of them as we get older and you look back at the stuff you did. You're like, we were the exact same way with our dumb words that we used.
I'd argue we were actually significantly worse with the words we used. We also used to run around the halls and tell every teacher to suck it.
See, but at least
right behind their backs, you just get up.
It was funny when the landing thing came out yesterday. That was my first tweet. That was my first thought. I'm sending out a good suck it tweet.
The words we use mean what they mean, though, at least back when we were kids today. What they're using, it's not even related. So it makes no sense.
I don't think it made any sense for us either, but I see your point. I digress. Let's get to some football, shall we? I'm going to ask you a super cliche question, but I'm wondering if you come up with different answers. One of the things that I love about this time of year is getting to the playoffs is like legacies on the line, how big of a deal these games are. Like if Dallas loses this weekend, they're firing Mike McCarthy.
Oh, that's a done deal.
They have to.
The noise is already loud on them. They've gone back and forth in like 2 weeks on this.
If Buffalo loses, what do you do with Sean McDermott?
You fire him.
Right? You're firing him.
I don't care that you won the division. Get out of here.
If Philly loses, they might fire Nick Sirianni. Maybe not, but that's a conversation that they will have.
You think they're willing to do it?
I do. They fired Doug Peterson like 2 years after he won a Super Bowl. I think they're. If you could go get Bill Belichick, I think they're willing to do it. So I will ask you the question. You can also include players into this too, like Dak Prescott. These are legacy moments. Is he finally going to go on a run in the playoffs? What if Dak Prescott loses this weekend after the year that he had? And he throws 3 picks against the Packers, and they lose because of that. We're going to spend all offseason laughing at him. Which player or coach has the most pressure on him this weekend?
The one playing in Kansas City from the road team.
Tua, you think Tua's number one on this list?
Tua for me, and to be honest with, you can make an argument for 2. Tua's pretty up there for me, if not one. Mm-hmm. Contract year. Do you just tag him and then like delay it another season? Do you give him the franchise quarterback contract? Do you try to negotiate a less than quarterback contract compared to everybody else lately? I don't know what you do. He's obviously accurate. He also makes 2 to 3 really bad decisions a game.
Yeah, he does.
He had a really big fumbling problem this year. And let's see how he plays in minus 30. Not that anybody's going to be amazing, but you know, he's the Hawaiian player. That's going to be tough. That's not easy for anybody. The second one, and a very close number one for me, is the quarterback hosting a playoff game.
Ooh.
Against his former team.
Goff?
Yeah. I think the Lions are an interesting spot. He's been good. I think he deserves a lot of credit for helping turn that into kind of what it's become with Man Campbell. But he also has problems in certain spots.
He does.
And the Rams are the hot, trendy pick to win this game as a road team. So you lose this game at home. What does Detroit do? Is Detroit just keep kicking this over with Goff, or do they maybe take their lumps a little bit and say, well, thanks, but you're kind of not the guy? Do you draft somebody?
That's a tough spot to be in.
And then you just trot out Jared Goff next year while he knows the guy that they've drafted to maybe replace him is sitting behind him. So for me, coaches, McCarthy's a good one. I'm going to go players. Those are my two players with like pressure.
Schultz, who you got? Who's got the most pressure this weekend?
This is an interesting one for me, and you guys might call me a little bit out of left field, but I think Pat Mahomes has some pressure on him. Chiefs quarterback, I understand.
Pat Mahomes.
The year the Chiefs have had, I would say that it's mediocre. It's a good year, 11-6, but Chiefs fans would call it mediocre compared to what they're used to. He still hasn't really proven that they're that successful team without Tyreek Hill. They're facing that. I'm not sure if you're going to see that many weapons, but I mean, that ball, that's going to feel like a bag of bricks that entire game. So,
that ball is going to be frozen.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Trying to grab it, it's going to be like grabbing a big stone rock that's the heaviest thing ever. So nobody's going to be throwing that ball. So
they also can't catch to begin with, too.
That's also a good
and
point.
Now they have a frozen football.
So can Pat Mahomes make lemonade out of lemons? And I do think there will start to be more questions posed in the offseason if Pat Mahomes doesn't. If they don't get out of the first round, you're talking about the Chiefs exiting in the first round with a supposedly healthy Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes. Yeah, no top wide receiver, but you at least put them in the AFC Championship every year, right? I thought that's what we were doing. So I think Pat Mahomes has a little pressure on him. For
my only thing is
interesting pick.
I don't agree with it. It's an interesting one out of left field. Because I don't think they do anything if they lose.
Yeah, the narrative doesn't change. I don't think if Mahomes loses this weekend,
he won a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, he's already got 2 and he's been to 3.
If anything, I look at it and go, God, can we get the guy targets now? Can we please try to get him some receivers?
He's got to do something himself. I don't know.
But they won the division and they're hosting a playoff game in a year where everybody would say that's not the traditional Chiefs team we've seen.
That's true. I guess the counter argument to that would be the division was not good.
But everybody thought the Chargers could come back this year and be a contender.
They were a dumpster fire.
The Raiders, I don't really buy them. They had Josh McDaniels.
Broncos are the Broncos.
Yeah, but some people thought Peyton, Russell Wilson, it might work this year. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But
and I did just get corrected on YouTube. Thank you. Yes, the Chiefs did win without Tyreek Hill last year. I don't know.
They did. They won a Super Bowl last year without him. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So he's proven he can win. But I see the point though of I do think it's an interesting crossroads if they lose of whoa. It was almost like written in Sharpie every year. Kansas City will be in the AFC title game. Every year he's been the starter. They've been to the AFC title game, and they've hosted the AFC title game. And so to see him lose in the wild card round, it would be jarring. I see the arguments you're making. I don't disagree with either of them. I think for the entirety of the playoffs, my guy is Josh Allen. I like this is like Josh.
Oh, the entirety of the playoffs is a different answer,
totally different. So I'm not going to answer this weekend because I don't think Buffalo loses to Pittsburgh, but crazier things have happened.
Also going to be cold.
I didn't think that they were going to have a chance to lose to Miami, and who the hell was their starter?
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. Thank you. To me, though, I have to go with the biggest franchise in the playoffs and the coach of that franchise. I have to do Mike McCarthy. This guy has flamed out in the playoffs back-to-back years. He parted ways with his offensive coordinator saying, we're going to run the football. We got to do all this. And they've been a dominant passing attack this year. So it went the opposite of why he said they had to fire Kellen Moore. I don't think they lose this weekend to Green Bay. That's a pretty uphill battle for the Packers. The Cowboys are great at home. But I still if Mike McCarthy loses, just everything that goes on around the Cowboys and the conversations around Dak Prescott and where his ranking is and everything that goes with Dallas, I think Mike McCarthy is my answer of the pucker factor. If that's a game that's like 24-24 with 4 minutes to go and Green Bay's got the ball, I'm just going to be sitting on my couch laughing my ass off knowing that everybody is sweating over that outcome.
And I don't know how people feel about quarterbacks in their first playoff games, right? This is Jordan Love's first time. This is going to be obviously CJ Stroud's first time.
I think you give him a freebie. That's how I view it as a fan. I don't know what to expect. I'm not going to kill you if you lose.
Well, the reason I mention it is because I'm almost wondering, what does LaFleur do or make tweaks to for this game, right? Because if you look at Dallas can expose certain areas of Green Bay's defense. Mm-hmm. The middle of the field area. I heard Bill Barnwell had said this. The middle of the field for Green Bay defensively, they get shredded. Yeah. And Dallas loves to run those slant passes. They love to put CD, Brandon Cooks, tight ends. They really like to expose the middle of the field with Dak. So there's an obvious weakness there. The other side, though, is interesting. Jordan Love's been playing really good as of late.
Yes, he has.
But Dallas's big weakness is rush defense. And Aaron Jones is going to play in this game. Does Green Bay, do they try to insert a little bit of calming the nerves of Jordan Love and in their first possession, establish the ground game? Get the ground game going, eat up a little bit of that clock. Because eventually it is the playoffs. these guys just settle in and they're just playing. Eventually they get past the idea of, playoff pressure. They eventually get comfortable.
Yep.
And I wonder if that's the approach here for Green Bay to kind of try to drag Dallas down to make this an interesting matchup.
A couple more thoughts on Wildcard Weekend. We'll get to them next. Final thoughts, and then we'll Sprague the line on the games this weekend. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're back after this on The Fan. Now we're talking, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Go. How are we not taking Steelers plus 10 in the under here?
That's a good question.
Buffalo's not throwing the football. This is going to be
yes,
ugly snow football, and we need a dome. We need domes. Stop this. Climate change.
Don't stop this.
No.
Thank you, Schultz.
Stop this now.
Thank you.
This is what the playoffs are all about.
No, it's not.
Test
No,
your
it's
metal in the snow.
It's not all 8 games.
No, give me snow or give me a dome. I don't need snow. I don't need 8 feet of snow.
Look at you. You want a little space heater, your heated blankets, watch your football.
Yes. I do. I'm my great-grandfather before he died. I have a blanket up to my head every day, and I just sit in a lazy boy.
You're calling me bougie because I would want to be like in the club or the bar area with a closed off, like, temperature controlled, like nice area to watch the game, and you want a blanket and sit at home? Like, what the hell are you doing?
You think that's bougier than what you said?
Amen, Schultze. Schultze's in there with the people in the 100 level.
Schultz.
Watching the game in the elements. Cheering on his team.
Nobody wants to see this. And the Bills win 3-0. They crossed the 50 once, and somehow it doinked in.
One of the craziest outcomes in NFL history, I don't know if you guys remember it, there was a game years ago in New England, not that long ago, like Brady era in New England. They played Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
In one of the all-time snow games in the history of the NFL. Do you remember how that game went? You probably don't. I don't know why I remember this.
I remember a Colts
there was a Lions game or something.
Yeah.
There was one where the Pats played the Titans at home, I believe, and there was like a foot of snow on the ground, and they scored nearly 60 points. And it's one of the craziest things I ever remember watching. I
vaguely remember.
How are they like Tennessee could not function. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't complete a pass, and Brady and the Pats just shredded them, and they scored every time they touched the ball.
But if it's 65 mile an hour winds,
it's nothing, dude. Run the ball, screens, check it down. You'll be fine. Survive in advance. That's all that matters. I mean, we had to take the under in that game, right?
I think
that's the takeaway.
You have to.
Still at 35.5, I think.
It's going to be 13-3. Maybe I stay away from the 10. But, I can't imagine if that weather report's true. How is anybody scoring 20 points?
I mean, I've got a couple hundred in my offshore betting account. I usually try to just stick to my unit, which is $7.
Humble brag.
But I started the season with $250. It's not a humble brag at all. I've made $50 this year. Woo! What are you talking about, dude?
I
could have started the year with 500.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You're revealing your unit size. You have a small unit.
I do.
And you're telling us how much you've won. I appreciate honesty in gambling.
I appreciate that, but I am with the elements and with the number Dirt's about to reveal. I'm hoping.
Yeah, DraftKings, it still says over under 35.
Dude,
that's
a
24-10 game, of 17-14 game.
Yes,
any of those,
and they hit, and it's gonna be 65 mile an hour winds and a foot of snow.
I'm hoping to double up my whole bankroll. I think
you're going that deep.
I might too.
I think we might go at least 2/3 of this bankroll.
You're going 2/3 of your unit deep onto the under of Pittsburgh.
I have got 300 in this account right now.
Are you not there with us?
I mean, I am definitely. I just worry about dumb stuff in snow games.
Sure.
Like you could get pick sixes and fumbles and short fields.
I don't think anybody's going to be able to throw the football if it's 65 mile an hour winds.
Can you catch a punt? Will anybody be able to catch a punt?
Will Mike Tomlin allow Mason Rudolph to throw more than 10 passes in 65 mile an hour wind? I don't think so.
The answer to that is definitely
Jalen Williams, here you go.
Definitely not.
What are the safety odds for this game? I'd take that.
There's a random safety.
What's the punt over-unders? I want to do that.
I don't know if you can find that one.
Unbelievable weather we have this weekend. Put domes on stadiums. Make them retractable. You can allow the sun, a little rain if you want. Nobody wants to sit in that. What's the over-under of tables broken before this game?
Oh, so many. Buffalo's going to love every second
There's
of this.
You
know they will. This is Buffalo.
Yeah.
They are psychos in Buffalo.
They are psychos. I commend them, and also this is the only reason you live in Buffalo is to be a Bills fan.
Yes.
I think we're going to get a video of a tri-table break. Table, we're going to go Dudley Boys. I think there's going to be a table stacked on a table, stacked on a table.
Dudley Boys.
And there's going to be a Ralph that works in the industrial warehouse somewhere in Buffalo fireballing his ass off, diving sideways, and just breaking through 3 tables.
Yeah, somebody says, the wind won't be that bad on the field. That's a great point. It's blocked off. It's going to be like 20 miles an hour wind.
Sure.
It'll be fine. Come on. I can't wait. Sunday morning, Steelers and Bills. It's going to be an absolute monstrosity. The Sunday night game, by the way, quick programming note, we are off on MLK Day. We now get that. We used to always work MLK Day. Now we get MLK Day off. So we will not be here on Monday.
Shout out the doctor.
Shout out. Yeah, doctor.
Do some good community thing on Monday if you can.
You absolutely
If you're not
should.
iced in, do something in the community. Go pick up trash in your neighborhood.
According to Sprague, you will not be iced in on Monday.
Or anything. Liars is what we get here.
Can we Sprague the line on that? Inch total? Can that be a bet for the weekend?
I have a bet with famous Dave Kingsella. We met in the restroom area near the bathroom, and
you guys in there? What are you doing in the bathroom?
We were playing swords.
Okay.
It was swords break, and we live in the same area. He's like, "You ready for the snow?" I'm like, "It's not going to snow. These guys never know when it's going to snow here," and he thinks we're going to get it. So we have a 1.35 inch requirement. He took the over. I'm taking the under.
Ooh, I think you're going to lose. You should have gone higher than that.
You guys are acting like this winter storm's not going to divert south. And Seaside's going to get most of this, or
Seaside.
They're not even really south. They're more north. But somebody south.
I see the point.
Florence is going to get this storm, not us.
I cannot wait. So Sunday night, we don't have the Sunday scaries. We don't have to wake up early Monday morning. We'll be here Tuesday to break it all down. Rams and Lions is the game of the weekend to me. Just the storylines that go into it, the pressure that you mentioned in the last segment on Jared Goff, and then the question of, every year you seemingly get one of these teams that we don't really talk a ton about coming into the playoffs. And I'm not saying the Rams have been that. They've been that kind of dangerous team for a while now. But they're still a wild card team that has to go on the road in every round that they're playing in. And in the NFL, you just never know. And we've seen teams like that go on a run, and seeing if Stafford and McVay can 2 years later go on another run again. Their wide receivers are great. They've had a good running back room all season long. Defensively, we know what Aaron Donald is capable of. And all the pressure in that game, 100% of it is on Detroit, and it's on Jared Goff, because this is their first time hosting a playoff game in a very long time, and their first division title in like 30 years. So I am genuinely excited for that game to see how Detroit handles the pressure and if they are a true contender, because if they come out and look impressive and they win that game, I think all of a sudden maybe you buy a little bit more that maybe Detroit is a team that could go on a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, this has been an interesting game to think about throughout the week. The Rams, they're a good story. They're fun. Puka Nacua is one of the best stories of the season. If the Rams have to go play San Francisco in San Francisco, are we really going to flirt with that upset? I'm not saying it's impossible. Nothing's impossible in the league. I don't know if I'm quite there. I gave you the zigger zag. I don't know if I'm there on the Rams making the NFC title game. I think this is a fun story. Mm-hmm. They obviously are a dangerous passing attack. We'll see if it's different this weekend. There is some pressure on Detroit, but also go in with it with none. You won your first division crown in the NFC North era. You're hosting your first playoff game since the 90s. Some people go in thinking you should win, but most of America feels like they're kind of backing the Rams here. The spread's fallen more in the Rams' favor.
It has.
I think this is a sneaky little good spot. It's not an easy game, and it does not guarantee a win, certainly against that Ram passing attack. But I'm kind of liking Detroit as the days have gone on, and everybody's flocking towards the Rams.
There's something to that for sure.
There's an element here. Hutchinson... and I have to check the status of him. He just got hurt, didn't he? Am I mistaking him with somebody else? Some in the moment choking.
Laporta is the one that's out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Hutchinson.
They're hopeful Laporta can play,
but he might not. Yeah, so that's a pretty big target taken away from Jared Goff. I think it's a fun matchup. It's good for the on paper and just I think matchups on the field. But I have another game that's pretty close to exciting for me for the same reasons.
Where you at? Which one?
It doesn't have a Stafford versus former team or Goff versus former coach. I'm kind of getting geeked for what Cleveland and Houston's going to be.
What will Joe Flacco do in the playoffs? Can Stroud win his first playoff game?
It's a weather-controlled environment. I don't have to deal with any snow or wind.
Such a wuss.
I am a wuss. I'm telling you right now, I hate inclement weather.
I think the Lions should play outdoors, too. Let's tear the roof off that bitch.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Cleveland's they're not looking good for Denzel Ward, so they're missing one of their key cornerbacks. That's a pretty big deal against a team that can throw the ball. But you also got the rookie quarterback against an elite defense matchup, which maybe more people see that and gravitate towards the defense, because what does defense do? It wins you championships. I as confident in Cleveland as I've been all week, that Denzel Ward nugget that came out yesterday, I kind of was like, okay, a little bit. Nico Collins, big little game against the Colts. If they can get the ball out quick and kind of take Myles Garrett out of the game, there's an element there. So I'm getting just as geeked up almost for Browns Texans, and I didn't think I'd say that on Friday as I am for Rams Lions.
It is funny because I've been with you all week on that game. I locked in a bet with the Browns earlier when the line I didn't know where it was going to go. Jumped on it the second that I could. And as every passing day, this is just where your brain works as a gambler, but as every passing day has gone by, I just keep thinking to myself, why am I so confident in Joe Flacco?
I know.
The dude's played.
He's been elite.
What, 6 games? Like, how many games did he play? Like, it's not like it's been an entire year. He was sitting on his couch. Like, who is he really beaten? I know they just beat Houston, but Houston didn't have C.J. Stroud in that game.
So his game log, it's 5 starts.
5 starts.
He's beaten the Jets.
Horrible.
They beat the Texans, but I believe
Stroud
that was
did not play.
Stroud.
That was a Davis Mills game.
Davis Mills game. So you get D'Amico at least gets to see that offense with Flacco from previous. They beat Chicago by 3, and that was the dropped Hail Mary game.
They were losing that entire game.
Okay. Then they beat Jacksonville, and you give them credit for that.
Did Trevor Lawrence play in that game?
This is a reverse order, by the way. So the Jets were most recent, then it was Houston, then it was Bears. That was the Jacksonville game on December 10th. I believe Lawrence was playing that game.
Okay.
And they got smoked by the Rams in L.A.
Yes, I remember that one because I gambled on the Browns that week.
He is at 60% completion percentage and a 7.9-yard average, 13 tutties and 8 picks. His numbers are being a little exaggerated.
Yes, they are.
In the way that we talk about him. But
this is my fear.
He's looked good with Amari Cooper. They had that record-breaking game. And, oh, by the way, he's kind of unlocked David Njoku. And Njoku is, that guy had 3rd-degree burns on his face. He showed up with a mask on his face, and he's kind of unlocked what a lot of people thought he would be.
Schultz, how you feeling about your Rams? You feeling good about are you ramming it this weekend? Do they pull off the upset?
I'm not sure they pull off the upset. I think the line seemed a little tasty to me, but I'm seriously, I think I might just put all my money on this under for the Steelers game. So I might do like a little parlay involving the Rams, but I'm not super confident on them. I'm just excited more for the storyline. You know, Jared Goff, he putting this chip on his shoulder like, the Rams traded me after I scored 3 points in the Super Bowl. Like, yeah. Wouldn't you trade you, Jared? So I'm excited. It's going to be a great game. Even as a Rams fan, though, I'll be fine if the Fighting Dan Campbells win it. So I'm more excited for the storyline in the game. But
that atmosphere is going to be so good.
Yeah,
dude,
the
it's
Rams
going to be electric.
So good. Anything's a positive this year for me because I thought they were going to go like 4-13.
When you won the Super Bowl a couple years ago,
I'm fine.
You're not sitting where I'm sitting. Your young coach, your offensive genius. He capitalized in his window. Mine, and we'll talk about this next week, I think easily has the most pressure of any team. McCarthy, Dallas, Baltimore, you name it. There's not more pressure on anybody else than the Niners to execute something in this window. But we'll get to that. I want to ask you this, Dirt. Which weather game is going to be the ugliest? Is it Buffalo-Pittsburgh, or will it end up being Miami against Kansas City?
I'm going to go Buffalo-Pittsburgh.
Is that a Mason Rudolph thing?
It's a Pittsburgh already sucks offensively. Okay. They've been playing better later in the year, and I'm glad that they're in the playoffs for that reason, but it's Mason Rudolph. Davis is out for Buffalo. That was announced just a bit ago. Rapp's going to also miss the game defensively.
He got hurt at the end of that Miami game.
Yeah, I think you can navigate. Again, I don't know specifically. I have to go look at the forecast in Kansas City. I know it's going to be really cold. If you don't get like a foot of snow and it's just really cold, like I think you can kind of navigate that a little bit. It's going to be painful and not pretty, but if you give me gusting winds and a ton of snow with a bad offense to begin with, that has a chance to be really ugly.
And Tyreek Hill comes back.
And Tyreek Hill's back.
Got a chance, man. Got a chance.
All right, let's break the line. Get your fake sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. We'll do some gambling next. First, your Schultze with SportsCenter.
This is a Wild Card Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at ToroPDX.com. First on The Fan, some breaking news earlier this morning in the NFL. The Patriots already finding a successor for Bill Belichick. They have tabbed former player and current linebackers coach Gerard Mayo as their next head coach. Mayo in included in his contract last offseason a plan so the team could hire him immediately. That's why this announcement comes so quickly. And at 37, he becomes the youngest head coach in the league. In the association, the Trailblazers suffering the 5th worst loss in NBA history last night as the Thunder demoralized them 139-77 the final. It marks a 62-point defeat. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 31. Josh Giddey adding a triple-double. And Portland right back at it tonight in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. Their 15.5-point underdogs tip-off at 5 p.m. on Root Sports. In college football, huge news for the Ducks again today. They land former Texas A&M receiver Evan Stewart. He caught 5 touchdowns as a sophomore for the Aggies. And the NCAA imposing significant penalties on Florida State for violating NIL rules. They used them as improper recruitment incentives, according to ESPN. Those penalties include 2 years probation, disassociation from their NIL collected for a year, and suspending offensive coordinator Alex Atkins for 3 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino has all the postseason pro football action on the big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
There you go. Let's do some Sprague the line sponsors, shall we? See what we got here. Scroll to my show sheet. Sprague the line brought to you by Frozen Meditation with Sprague and a space heater, hoping the electricity does go out.
Oh, I love a good. It was a nice little space heater. I bought a double pack for my wife because her hands are always cold.
Why are you guys so cold? We're the opposite. We're always hot. My wife, now that she's pregnant, you know what she makes me set the thermostat to currently? She gets hot when it's above 63. Really? My house is freezing.
That was an old joke in Father of the Bride, too. Steve Martin was freezing, and the mom and the daughter were like, I'm so hot.
I'll come home some days, she's like doing something in the kitchen. She's like, I'm sweating. And I'm like, it's 64 degrees in the house. Do you know how cold that is?
Body heat. She's got another body on her.
Suck it up. Come on.
She's got another human being in her stomach.
You know what we call that? Excuses.
Why are you always hot is what my question is.
I got a lot of meat. Got a lot of meat on my bones.
You're a fake fat.
I'm an honorary fat.
Nah.
If there was a fat convention, I could go into the meetings.
No, dude, get right to the meat.
If there was a fat convention at the Portland Convention Center, they would allow me in the door.
Schultz, you agree with that? If there was a fat convention, would they let Dirt into the door?
No, they'd let me in, but not you.
You don't think they would kick me out?
I'm wider than you. No. You were a quarterback in high school. So
that was 20 years ago.
Doesn't matter, dude.
Give me your pant size. What's your waist?
36.
What's
I think
yours?
I'm a 36 too.
Nah, you're a 34. I've seen you.
I'm definitely not a 34.
Your legs.
Oh God,
always dangling from a chair.
I usually tend to size up because I like looser pants anyways.
Do you?
Yeah. I digress. Sprague and Line brought to you by Dirt's Lovemaking. It's about to become an even less frequent than a Sprague gambling win. Thanks a lot, Smudge. Yeah.
Homeboy, you have no idea how many times you're going to be alone in a restaurant.
You.
I love me. I still love me.
Will you remember? Sprague and Line brought to you by the only winter sports team in Portland worth watching because their front office actually invests in winning. Go Winterhawks TNT, baby.
Hey, you know what? I'll actually clap to that.
They added Nate Danielson the other day, who was the number 9 overall pick in the NHL draft and a member of your Detroit Red Wings organization.
Really?
Massive pickup. They're all in, and they might be the best team in the Western Conference. Sprague and Line brought to you by Schulte's hand sanitizer because, like a Sprague pick, it deserves to be thrown across the room and onto the floor. Sprague and Line brought to you by golfers. The only thing that makes us more nervous than playing around with Tiger Woods is betting on Sprague's picks.
That's a good point.
Sprague and Line brought to you by Dan Campbell. He thinks Sprague should move to Turdville if you can't handle the cold weather.
He's
I
not
agree.
wrong.
Sprague and Line brought to you by the Over-Under Dirt's solution to male pattern baldness. Too soon.
Wow.
Way too soon.
Wow.
Sprague and Line brought to you by KVAL. Our reporting of Dan Lanning in Tuscaloosa is as accurate as a Sprague pick. Okay, here's how we did last week. Swigard won the week, but he's not here to get his T-box. He was 2-1. Sprague, you went 1-2. You hit on the Bucks. I went 1-2. I hit on the Bills.
He's ahead of me now.
He is one game ahead of you. Season standings, I'm now at 32-22. I am leaking oil, but hanging on for dear life.
You're up 10 games.
I'm only
above
up
500.
7 on Swag, though. I'm only up 7.
I know. He's been
3-0 versus an 0-3, and all of a sudden, we got a ball game here.
I think you can track him for like 8 to 9 weeks now of being 2-1, 3-0, and an occasional 1-2, but largely pretty good.
And we're going to give him 0-3 if he doesn't text us his picks. And I don't think, unless he did earlier, he might have 2 minutes ago. So I'm 32-22.
Yeah,
Swag is 25-28-1. Sprague, you were 24-29-1.
Yeah.
I will let you start. The floor is yours. First pick.
Well, I have to look at his picks. He's got Kansas City minus 4.5.
Okay, let's just start with Swag.
Oh, my God. Of course, he picked the one game I have.
KC minus 4.5. Okay. I mean, we got it at 4.
Under in Buffalo, Pittsburgh. He's citing 35.5. If that's the number, then I'm taking that too. So we have the same game there. Great. Good job. And he's got the under of 51.5 in Rams and Lions.
So many games to pick, buddy.
I know, that is true. Rams Lions under of
I don't
what?
pick
51
my games, though. You know, like
I'm going to make sure he gets the local lines. I'm not letting him cheat here. 51.5. Okay. All right, go ahead, Sprague. Your first pick.
I'm going to stick with a pick I've liked since Monday. I know we just briefly talked about it. Denzel Ward injury, a bit of a problem in the secondary. I'm just going to say that Houston jumped the line a little bit. Great year. Seriously, great year. Stroud's awesome. I'm taking Cleveland -2. I'll take the defense on the road, even with the Denzel Ward injury.
Yeah, I'm going to double up on that pick, too. It's my first one. I think it's a rookie quarterback playing in his first game. Not sure what to expect. Cleveland's ability to get after the quarterback I'd like. I know they kind of played a shootout. Maybe the over is the play here because there's no weather conditions. But I don't know why. I said it last segment. I don't know why. But I trust Cleveland a little bit there. I'll take the Browns -2.5. You got a pick you want to throw out, Schulte?
Absolutely. I was talking to Rams Detroit in our last segment, excuse me. I like this pick just because if you can get it at 3.5, I think the Rams with a field goal is pretty solid. So I'll go. It's -130 on the book that I'm looking at, but you got to buy a half a point. So I'm buying a half a point.
Buying a half point?
Yeah, Rams plus 3.5 to cover against the Lions.
Okay, Sprager?
I'm going to take the under of 35.5 in Buffalo, Pittsburgh as well. You cannot tell me 65-mile-an-hour winds and a foot of snow, and there's going to be some big shootout. Maybe there will be, and we'll talk about how insane that is.
This is terrifying me now because we're all going to take the same game, but I'm also on that game.
I mean, come on.
How do you not?
Yeah, 35 is not a big number, but you just went through it. It could be 17-14. It could be 24-10. Like, I just don't think Mason Rudolph's going to throw the football more than like 12 times. So I'll take the under.
For gambling notes, too, because Swag had it at 35.5 on DraftKings. It is currently 35. So we're all getting 35 is the under number there.
I will change that down his as well.
My second pick, I'm going to take that. I'll just throw out my last pick since I'm on it. I don't know why I like this team. There's a trust factor there. There probably shouldn't be, but I'm going to ride it out. I don't trust a Hawaiian quarterback in -35-degree weather. It's Kansas City at Arrowhead. It's Mahomes in the playoffs. I think there's a different conversation when they potentially have to go on the road. I trust Kansas Kansas City in this spot. 4.5. I was hoping all week that the line would come down a little bit. I'm going to double check and see what's out on DraftKings. Yeah, still 4.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lock in the 4.5. I'm on Kansas City minus 4.5 against Miami. Go ahead, Schultz.
A little ballsy here, but I like the Texans. Is your line on DraftKings what I've got -2 or
+2? Yep.
All right, so +2. Yeah, I like that. I think it could get squirrely at the end of the game. I mean, CJ Stroud is just so good. I know it's elite defense versus rookie quarterback, but he's got a lot to prove. And yeah, he's not going to be as chill going into the game as Joe Flacco. It's going to be a great game, and I think that there's a chance for them to cover the 2. And I will note, yeah, guys, I'm really close to putting almost my entire bankroll, which I do not advise. But I'm thinking I'm going to do at least a couple hundred, which is 50 units for me, 40 units for me on the under for the 35-point Steelers.
You're emptying the account on the under.
I think I'm going to do it.
I'm going to take the Ken Barkley special. I owe him a gift basket. He's right. I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. He's not. I'm going to kind of buy it, though, too. I think there are weaknesses of both defenses in Green Bay, Dallas. I'll bite. By the way, full disclosure, I think I'm 0-7 on overs this year. Let's try to make it 0-8. Over 50.5 in Green Bay and Dallas.
All right, here we go. You got one more, Schultz, or are you just doing 2 picks this week? You got a third?
No, my third pick is the under.
The under. Touche. You just said you're doing your whole big unit there. Okay, I will add that one to the mix. So we are all 4 of us are on the under in Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Watch that be a 49-42 shootout.
It just moved half a point down to 34.5 on the book I'm watching.
Damn it.
Well, no.
I know. I'm not changing it.
No, I'm not changing it.
I'm just saying I need to lock that bet in. It went down on mine too. Damn it! I lost a half a point.
Is bad radio. What's the over-under in Detroit, LA on the local app? Because he's saying 51.5.
It's 51.5. Okay. It is 51.5. So Sprague and I are both on the Browns -2.5. We are both on the Bills Steelers under of 35. That was locked in at the time. It was written on ink.
I would take it at 34, by the way.
I would too. I am also on Kansas City -4.5. Sprague, on top of his 2 bets, likes the Cowboys and Packers over of 50.5. Swag, if you missed it at the start of the segment, he is on the Chiefs -4.5, the under of 35 in Pittsburgh, Buffalo, like we all are, and the Rams and Lions under of 51.5. Did I get that right? He likes the under in that game.
51.5 in Rams Lions.
And Schultz likes the under as well in Bills and Steelers, plus the Texans +2, and the Rams getting a half point up to 3.5 in Detroit. There you go. Sprague in the line every Friday at 8:30. We'll wrap it up, send you on your weekend, an update on Kalen DeBoer if there is one, and close it up next on The Fan.
The Fan is on in your home and where you work.
It's just us and no one else. Good explanation.
The Fan on your smart speaker is brought to you by Red Tail Golf. Red Tail's junior golf program is in session now. Sign up for the junior club or their spring break golf camp, March 25th through the 29th. Visit redtailgolf.com or call 503-646-5166 and tell your smart speaker to play 1080.
I couldn't believe how entertained I was. When you talk about the top in this country.
The Fan.
Victoricos features fresh, authentic Mexican food made from scratch. Hey, it's Dusty, and that's just one reason why Victoricos is my family's go-to when we need a quick and delicious meal. From tacos and burritos to quesadillas and tortas, there's truly something for everyone. Order your favorites now at victoricos.com.
PG Long has been the Northwest flooring experts for 4 generations and more than 50 years. To serve their partners, builders, and contractors better, PG Long is now the preferred distributor of FIBO wall panel systems in the Pacific Northwest. 100% waterproof, easy to install. FIBO wall systems.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're back on. Sorry, YouTube crowd. I had my feet up. You doing okay over there, Schulte? You doing all right?
I think the Rebecca Black thing.
It phased him.
Yeah.
It rattled his kitchen.
It did. It rattled him.
Away, so. Before we wrap up here, I do want to give. So the update this morning, if you were just getting in your car on Kalen DeBoer, he was scheduled to do an interview with KJR this morning at 8 a.m. It's a Seattle sports radio station where our friend Ian Furness works, and Softy bloviates every single day. And the interview was going to be in studio at 8 a.m. The station tweeted out at 6 a.m. this morning that interview had been canceled. Every Husky fan was eagerly awaiting that to see what he's going to say and if we're going to get some sort of commitment. He canceled it. The station is saying they're trying to reschedule the interview, and the reason it was canceled is they were told he is meeting with the athletic director, working out the details of a contract extension.
I hope that's true.
It was a tweet 3 hours ago, or 2 hours and 53 minutes ago is when it came out. We have not had any other update on that, and we remain in wait and see. And this, based on our track record from 24 hours ago, I imagine in the next 15 minutes we're going to get an announcement. Either he is signing an extension or the next head coach at Alabama.
I venture to say that within the next hour and a half, it's going to break. Pate last night said I would be shocked to do a show tomorrow night and sit here and tell you they still don't know.
Yeah, lingering into the weekend.
I also don't think it's a bad thing if they don't. I said yesterday I would be surprised. I kind of still there, but they're Alabama. Maybe they're doing more due diligence than we thought that they would.
They could. Maybe they're getting a coach we're not even talking about right now.
Very possible. I didn't know Gerard Mayo had a thing in his contract to be the replacement for Belichick, and then we learned that today, and they didn't even talk to any other candidates.
And he's just looking at porn with his wife.
What a thing to find out. Your head coach's wife is just liking nothing but porn.
He's into her things, man.
I'm not judging. It's a interesting thing to find out.
I hope everybody survives the snow this weekend.
Nah, it's not going to be snow.
The 9 inches we're going to get tomorrow. It's going to be big. Big dumping.
That's what she said.
We get a big dumping tomorrow.
I over-delivering. It's the story of my life in the Pacific Northwest with weathermen and snow predictions.
It's one way or the other. It's either they over-predict and nothing ends up happening, or they're like, yeah, this won't be a big one, and then you get 17 inches of snow and the entire city can't move.
My entire life living here, so I'm sorry I don't buy the big snow warning.
Well, if the game doesn't get canceled, who needs snow football in Kansas City when you can watch Winterhawks and T-Birds on the CW tomorrow night at 6 o'clock? If I can make it into the Memorial Coliseum, I hope you can too. But if you can't,
you drive a truck.
It's tough, man. It's 8 inches of snow.
Put a sandbag in the back. You
9
can get
inches,
in.
9 inches of snow out there, man. It's hard out here, okay? It's hard out here getting around.
We need you after Moesha. We need you after Moesha.
So tune in if you're sitting around. I can't wait to watch some NFL playoffs. A reminder, we are off on Monday for MLK Day, and we will talk to you Tuesday. If you missed any of the show, go check the podcast service, Patriots Podcast, 1080thefan.com. At 1080thefan, at Dirt and Sprague. We'll tweet it out here in a bit. You can also find it on the Odyssey app, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube.
Love you.
YouTube.com/1080thefan. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. It means the world to us. Have a great 3-day weekend, everybody. We will talk to you Tuesday at 6 a.m. Colin is next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.
A home favorite out west. I'm Ed Egros here to help you beat the books with BetQL. UC Santa Barbara hosts Bakersfield tonight, and the Gauchos are -8 home favorites against their in-state opponents. The BetQL model has Santa Barbara -8 as a 4-star best bet. They think they should be favored by double digits. I'm Ed Egros. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetQL and BetMGM apps today.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Rick Jones of Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. Child custody is the most emotional issue our clients face. If you're a divorcing father, the relationship with your children is about to change. But that change doesn't have to be for the worse.